Everybody. We'll start our work session off with the Pledge of Allegiance and then get down to it.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So good morning again, everybody. We'll go through what is our work session, which today we have a number of items on the agenda that we'll go over. With that, I don't think there's any additional presentations that we're giving or anything that we're otherwise discussing other than the work session agenda, but there will be the open at the end of it. So just looking at the agenda right now, there is, to note for the board, one executive session item intended to take place prior to the start of the public session meeting. So we would like to start at 5 o'clock. That should give enough time to talk with the board. And the reason for that is there is an item for discussion on the agenda that if the board should choose to, there might be an opportunity to have that instruction ready and be able to discuss for it. Without diving into the actual executive session item, are there any questions about that, any concerns about starting early?
And we're not going to know about that, what item it is?
It's on the agenda as far as listed, but we won't talk about it right now because we're in the work session.
We'll let you know when we get possible.
Yes, is it not? Oh, you mean the invite?
Yeah,
schedule?
just to change it so.
Gotcha. We can do that.
Okay.
I think
Live and die by the schedule.
that's fair. Okay. Moving on to the public session, we'll have several special presentations. One will be employee of the third quarter, which we're pleased to announce is going to be Kurt, our Parks and Rec Deputy Director. There is a scheduled update from County Planning and Development, which is them coming down discussing. I think they will touch on or discuss in probably primary the building department and their progress and their plan and envisionment for that when it goes into effect January 1st. We do have the Dave Vecchio, our benefits broker, to provide a presentation for the board. And then finally, we'll have a presentation from the Pull West Rotary Club with Trinity Smith, the president, for the board. For them, if they get their information and presentations ahead, so we put it in the packet, you'll see that over the weekend. If not, they may be able to provide it by Monday, and so you'll see it presented, but it may not be part of your packets. Any questions about any of those?
Does Dave Vecchio represent CDBG?
I forget what the name of, I don't think it's that.
It's just benefits broker.
I think it's just, yeah.
That's two of us. Bill.
Does Dave, should you want me to repeat the question?
Yes.
I was wondering if Dave Vecchio represents CEBT. Because
What?
don't we get some benefits from them also?
I think so, but I don't know if he represents them. He does represent benefits broker as
Okay.
far as where he's coming from on that aspect.
all right.
I'll find out more about whether he has any other ties to that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. For action, we have two items. One is the common and parking in common. I think we did get feedback and are ready to move forward as far as that for the 79 East Spalding or the River of Grace parking in common that's back there. And then we do have, I'll ask you for this one. Skip it, because I think we've talked about it enough, unless you really want to, that's fair. So as far as the Civic Center Dog Park, we did get the IFBs in and are, I think, ready to award that.
Well, that was quick. I thought Sean was going first.
I really
Morning,
did.
Board. Carol Cosby, Director of Parks and Rec. In front of you is an agreement, a resolution to award IFB Civic Center Park to RDR Construction. We did budget in this year's budget for $200,000. We spent $23,000 on design. So we have about $176,520 left for construction. So we are a little short. The bids came in, it was $201,000 plus contingency. So this project is coming out of our Conservation Trust Fund budget. And I spoke with our finance director, Karen, and she said that we'll have to do a budget amendment but the money is there to fill the gap that we're short for this budget, for this project. And there are, in your packet, there's a description of what the park looks like and the resolution as well as the agreement. Are there any questions?
So the dog park, or the skate park's staying, right?
The skate park is staying.
Okay.
Actually, the dog park's going to be a small dog park and a large dog park. The large dog park will be on the west side of it. And the smaller dog park will be on the east side, but they will connect in the back of the skate park.
Are we still keeping the one over by the,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
At this time, yes.
Pea gravel, no pun intended?
So yes,
That's
that's what.
funny. That's a good one, Bill.
Any other questions about that item? All right, thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for an update on the playground that we approved over by the trailer park, the additional equipment.
Pixie Park?
Pixie Park?
Yeah,
It's done, isn't it?
It is complete.
it is complete.
It's up. We've painted the equipment that we left in the park. We painted it, so you should run by there. It's a very nice park right now. We've worked really hard on the grass, put picnic tables in, and it's a nice-looking park.
I will go by that.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. That's all we have for action. As far as discussion items, we do have one on Orchard Springs Drive for the subdivision of water and sewer as a will serve letter. Melissa. And Jim.
I have to apologize. Somehow I clicked on September the 8th agenda, and I got like 20 tabs open, so I'm catching up. Oh, no, I'm good now. Yeah.
All right, hello board. Elisa Vasquez, Water Resource Manager, and Jim Blyson, Utilities Director. We are presenting a discussion item about a development on Orchard Springs Drive. This is over by the golf course on the south side, I believe. It is developed by Two Fairway Estates, and the reason we're bringing it to you, the parcel is over 5 acres, and the developer intends to subdivide the area into 24 to 26 individual lots to build single-family home townhomes. And the developer is asking for a will serve letter contingent on providing approved water rights to the district at a later date prior to starting the development. So, in the background, the district has previously required the developer to find water rights, get them approved, and dedicate them to the district prior to providing a will serve letter. And this developer is requesting the letter before they get the water rights, with the contingency that they will provide water rights before they start the development. And it is in our rules and regulations that we haven't done this in the past, and we usually don't, so they're asking for a variance. And they will be here, I believe, to talk in the regular board meeting, but we also have this in the executive session to talk about at the end of the board meeting on Monday.
What's their, do you know what their reason is for wanting to have this first?
Yeah, they are trying to go through a few community development, trying to think of the word, land use application stuff that require this letter to come first. And so in order to get past certain other aspects of designing their development, getting it approved, doing right now it's 3 parcels, and they're going to do a lot line vacation. And so they're trying to move forward to get that other stuff done while they're working on finding the water rights. We haven't in the past allowed that because they are putting money into this without the guarantee that we'll be able to serve them in the future. But we have talked to them and they know that they're okay with putting the monetary value into the property before we, before we have guarantees.
So the risk is all on them? Or what's the risk to the district doing this?
I think just writing, as long as we wrote a really good will serve letter, the risk is mostly on them. I think for the district, this could come up with all other developers, and that's kind of why the precedent has been provide water rights before you move on. And so.
I see a warranty deed here that's been served, so I'm assuming they already purchased the property?
They do own the property, yes.
So that's pretty good intent right there. But past practice has been, do we know where their water source is coming from?
They currently do not have a water source. They're investigating different options right now.
So there's no guarantee that we serve that letter to them as a request, that they may not come up with any water source in the future.
Yeah, that is true.
We got Carl raised his hand. Carl? You are muted.
Good morning, all. Thanks very much.
Good morning, Carl.
On this Orchard Springs deal, a couple of things occur to me. Number one, the district, as a policy matter, has never given a general warranty deed because the general warranty deed is a promise that you warrant title all the way back to the patent out of the United States government. So we just don't do that. We do a special warranty deed, which is a promise to the purchaser that the district has done nothing to screw up title during the time that the district has owned the property. So that's one thing on the type of deed, and I think it was a good catch that you noticed a general warranty deed rather than a special warranty deed in the draft agreement. The other thing is with regard to the water, I just saw the certificate, and I'm not going to talk much more about it other than to say the certificate for the water rights involved. And I do believe really strongly two things. Number one, that we need an engineering analysis by Alan Leak if we have not owned Bessemer shares in the past, to learn what the amount of that water right will yield. And second, because it appears as just a water right which may not have been changed, assuming that the entire Bessemer ditch has not undergone a ditch-wide analysis for a change, we would need to talk with Bob Crossa about the process costs to go through a change in Division 2 water court to have the water right changed from irrigation to municipal use, unless that change has already been effected. So those are my two comments. And Alyssa may have the answers to these already. We just haven't had a chance to talk about them yet.
So I don't see why we need to invest money in trying to get people's water resources worked out for them. I still am stymied by why people move ahead with projects or want to go ahead with projects without knowing that the core to this whole thing is having water. Other than there's something in the back of their mind that is triggered to believe that once they have a project designed and developed, that we feel obligated to, since they've spent so much money trying to get this thing through, we feel obligated to provide water for them. So if we want to change our policy, then we should change our policy. But these exceptions, I think, do nothing but degrade our policy. So that's my opinion.
Any other questions or discussion for this morning?
What, can you define the will serve letter?
Do you have an answer?
I'll try.
Okay.
Will serve letter says that we'll go ahead with the agreement, provide, in short, provided that they can show the approved water rights that are beneficial to the district.
Okay. Thanks.
That's already implied though, really, isn't it? In our rule, in our regulations, in the way we do things, we will supply water as long as we have water.
Yeah, if you're a development that doesn't have to bring in water, like you're building a house or something, we provide a will serve letter that just says the district has water and will serve you, period. This one is just saying, we don't have, right this time we don't have the water, but we will serve you as soon as we do. So it's kind of a.
And my suggestion only if the letter of intent to purchase water, and if the board approves that, we should have a time frame on that. Because what's happening is they're holding up that property that they want to develop, and there should be a time frame of when they can bring in the approved water.
Does that mean that we should require them to pre-purchase the water taps also?
If I'm following you correctly, I think first we need to get the water right situation in place before we would get the taps.
Right, but if I recall, normal construction is once you have the foundation poured, then they'll put the tap in, right?
Correct,
Yes.
we'd follow that process.
So, I mean, if we don't change the process, we're being consistent abroad.
In that case, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
We also haven't we had discussions lately on letters of intent?
That's true.
Okay.
Yes. They'll be here?
They will be here,
They will
yes.
be here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next we got contract.
Let me get into that one.
Turn it over to Katrina for contract purchase of district land, 868 East Industrial.
Okay, so this is a full price offer for 868 East Industrial Avenue. The lot is 5.62 acres and is serviced by both water and sewer. The buyer intends on an excavation facility that will service Pueblo County. Because the property is 5.62 acres, they will need to provide water, or the board will have to provide a variance, or grant a variance. They have estimated water consumption between 10,000 and 13,000 gallons per month. So we are working on discussions with them, but we are bringing it forward as a discussion item at this time.
And do we not have a diagram of where this is located?
I think this is rapidly happening negotiations, and so we just actually got the staff report uploaded just now, and so we will get additional information prepared.
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah. Whatever other documentation the board needs, though, before Monday's discussion, please let us know, and we can add that in there. But I know that the last update was just literally a day or two ago in their dashboard, so.
Did you say that this was being purchased by Pueblo County?
No, it's being purchased by an excavation company and to
Oh.
service Pueblo County.
Oh.
Was this wasn't the same one that was on the approval of consent agenda last time?
No, this
Was
is a
it?
different
Okay.
property, yeah.
Any other questions on that? Next, we have a request to discuss updating the rules and regs for requests for donations from non-governmental entities. I can just share that, I'll turn it over to you. I'll turn it over to me. That's fair. I was gonna say you had reached out, discussing it. We had just updated the rules and regs and got it approved at the last meeting. This one is a request, as we've had discussions about donations, I believe, passed, and I think a desire to see a standard blanket answer go forward, and if it was in our rules and regs, would be probably easier for the staff to be able to follow through with. So now I'll turn it over to you. Hopefully I didn't steal all your words.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I know that since I've been here, there was 2 requests on one day for non-governmental organizations, entities, requesting money. And I think that, we turned that down, and I think that it's in order to be more efficient, and we can just have the staff simply, once it's in the rules and regs, say no to anyone. So that's why, and I remembered a discussion that day, and so this is just a follow-up on that in order to actually put it in the rules and regs.
So one thing I do want to bring to the board's attention, I know the water department, they could probably speak to it better than I can, but they are working on doing an analysis to figure out what would be more prudent for the water department when it comes to over 5 acres of development, and whether or not we want that threshold to bring in water, how we want to navigate that process. And so they were going to be bringing forward ideas to the board, I believe, in the next few months. And so that would include an update to the rules and regulations if the board decided. So we could always wait and have that as a comprehensive update again at that time, or we can do it again, do a brief update during this next board meeting of the donation requests. So it's up to the board at this time.
I'd probably, on that, just ask if you're comfortable with it. We could have the discussion Monday, give direction for it, as long as the comfort level of all updates will come by January. Once we get the water language updated, we'd probably make it effective January 1st, and that would be a new rules and regs update. So as long as we're comfortable with that being included in there, the donation piece of it, then that could happen all at once.
Yeah, that's fine, as long as it doesn't get lost.
Yeah.
That's all.
Since you brought up the water, before we close, I'd like to, under director's comments, ask a question of the wastewater department.
Okay. At the end, do you mind if we?
At the end.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Just while it's fresh on my mind.
That's fair. Any discussion on that topic before we move to the next? If everybody's comfortable, we'll leave it on for Monday, discuss, give intent. If there is a desire to change it, we'll ask, do we want to change it now? Do we want to change it when we do a more comprehensive update, and then we'll follow through? Okay. All right, next one we have is East Spalding Water Main. We got Kevin and Jim.
Hello, Board. Kevin Love.
Hello, Kevin. Good
Deputy
morning.
Director of Utility Operations, and Mr. Jim Blazing, the Director of Utilities. For this East Spalding water main, there's a developer coming in. They're going to be putting in a residential home. Per our rules and regs, they're to be installing, it's currently under review, the documentation that has not been installed. This water main extension will be assessed. We're just here to inform you that we'll be evaluating as it goes further. Our project development team will ensure that it meets standards. So this is to inform you of some future prospects on water main extensions for East Spalding. Currently, the Water Board previously approved this rules and regs. These developers are required to install sewer infrastructure and water infrastructure. If they are not already there, this would be water only. And as stated, we would recommend that at the time that the board's consensus to allow the developer to proceed with this construction of the water main once it's been reviewed and accepted as meeting the standards of the district.
More than one house or just one house?
I believe it's 2 residents.
And they are deemed the developers in this case. They're the developers of the project.
Oh, okay.
Vacant properties that front the new said water main will pay an associated assessment based off the total cost of the water main construction.
And it's done to our standards, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is headed towards the treatment plant?
Correct.
Any further questions, discussion on that topic? Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Moving to the next, I will actually turn this one over to you, I promise. The review of security measures for public meetings.
Yeah, so, I think probably goes without saying why I'd want to review the security measures. I think, thought a lot about it, since last Wednesday. And my idea is I would, obviously open for discussion, but my idea or preference would be to approach the sheriff's department and see if a deputy could be on site for our public meetings, the ones on Monday night. I guess that's it.
Me and Chris spoke about this last Thursday, I believe it was, right? A week ago last Thursday. In regards to an active shooter situation. Talked, of course, many times at the Federal Bureau of Prisons for run, fight, hide. Well, there's nowhere to hide in here, and there's only one entryway. So every time we change the format of this room, I just brainstorm, like I told him, okay, how do you deter something like that in this type of setting? I did tell him, I says, well, you know, to have a sheriff's deputy inside the room, to me, that may make people a little uncomfortable because we're not used to having that, right? Or maybe stationed out in the hallway. So that's part of the discussion, right, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But I did also explain to him, I've spoken many times with the sheriff's department here. In most cases, we have 2 patrolling officers 24/7 and a commander that will patrol periodically when not at the station. So you got 3 on patrol almost at all times, most of the time within Pueblo West. Any other comments?
I understand the concern at this point with the Charlie Kirk murder. I'm not sure that level of intimidation is that we have that level of potential threat. Yeah, I've sat through some pretty hot meetings years ago. Really hot. I mean, it can get, sometimes certain situations can get out of control. I'm not sure that, you know, whatever the board wants to do is okay. I'm not sure that it's warranted. We don't normally have those types of situations going on here. We don't have those types of discussions going on here. Granted, I think the majority of this board, if not all of the board, professes to be Christians. But I personally don't think our threat level is at that level yet. But like I said, whatever the board thinks is important. We normally don't have very many residents here. Most of the people that are here are employees. How much protection can you have? I mean, if somebody wants to do harm, obviously they can figure out ways to do harm.
Obviously, they can do with a different type of weapon.
Whether,
yeah.
you know, whether there's police there or doors are locked. But that's my opinion. I'm not fearful of someone coming in here. But
You got something to say about it?
Kind of leaning on, you know, we're elected officials. I mean, as sad as it sounds, there's an inherent risk to what we've become in our current status and situations. I mean, I don't like, I was in the infantry for 12 years. You know, we have an inherent risk when it comes to certain things. We have to understand those inherent risks and do the best we can with the security measures that we can develop. I'm not against finding ways to mitigate, obviously, but at the same time, we also got to realize, I mean, anything can happen anywhere, anytime, unfortunately, anymore. Those doors right there, can you dog ear them to where people can't just come in after a certain time and then we can egress if we need to?
Yeah, so I'll share, there's 3 doors in play here. There's the door to this specific room and then the two doors to the exterior. This door has the bar to be able to exit in case you were stuck in here. We can use wrench to be able to make it so you can't open it from the exterior.
Right.
Excuse me. But it is the only reasonable means of egress for us.
Right.
The 2 doors here, the front one does not have that bar. It's just a lock and it will be fully locked for it. The back one does have a similar bar to this one, so it can be locked from anybody from the outside. But as soon as somebody pushes that, the difference between the two is if you push this one in and exit when it's actually
Right.
locked, it will lock again when it comes back.
Right.
The other one, if somebody exits, it usually stays because it's that kind of
And
equipment.
maybe that becomes something, I mean, not trying to keep the public out, but it's an access to where they just can't open the door while we're in the meeting after a certain time frame. The other thing is too, I mean, and if you're getting down to it, I mean, this room is kind of a fire hazard to us. If something happens, a fire breaks out and it's over that way, where are we going? There are certain inherent things with this situation in this room where, you know, we're just kind of fish in a barrel, so to speak. But I appreciate his concern about it. I just my mind's like, I think we have plenty of people in here that are more than capable of helping defend our situations should it occur or something occur, and try to mitigate things as much as possible. Like, you know, you're talking about the door, the front door and all that stuff, you know, and I completely understand security. But again, sometimes there's an inherent risk to what we do as public service, unfortunately.
The only thing I would add, just for some of our practices right now, we have in the past, if there's been something on the agenda or we feel there is some form of threat or something that has transpired within the district, we've called the sheriff's office and asked if they could send a deputy or patrol with a deputy there. We have typically just done that if there seems to be that level of threat, but we would take direction or any vision from the board to say if there is a more consistent presence, or if there's different practice for the doors themselves. I'm happy to have the board discuss and give some direction.
I'll share just a few more things. I attended the Desert Hawk golf course meeting at the, what's it called? The Board of County Commissioners Chambers. And I counted 5 sheriff's deputies in the back, 3 of which sat there for a golf course meeting. I know the city of Pueblo, after talking to a city council member, they have 2 to 4 officers that are there for all their meetings. Again, I realize that we're not discussing maybe the same things, but you know, I don't know how a golf course meeting could go out of hand.
Those golfers get pretty upset.
I guess. And then my other thought when I was just toying with it, I don't know, you know, I've never, I don't know enough about how sheriff's departments or police departments operate, but my thought in toying with this scenario was if the sheriff's deputy was here, essentially posted here for the meetings, and if there was something that happened outside of this that needed their assistance, then they would leave. You know, I mean, I think that probably goes without saying maybe, but that's just sort of how I was thinking about it, is they could essentially post here and, oh, got a call, got to go. This is something serious, and we're sitting here talking about water taps or whatever.
I would share, I can't speak to their practice or policies, but that's pretty standard for emergency response as far as protocol. So I wouldn't say that if they were stationed here, it would be at the detriment of something more severe. That's fair.
Yeah, and if there's, I guess the action that I would consider would be just to approach them and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? Is there a cost to it? I mean, if there's no cost, then they can sit here. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. But and honestly, I would feel, I think, more comfortable if there was someone here as opposed to less. I wouldn't feel uncomfortable if there was a sheriff's deputy sitting here.
So, in regards to
Just
what
me.
you were just saying, sheriff's deputies and police officers routinely, quite often, do overtime. Okay? And
I guess the question would be is if we were gonna hire somebody to be here, do we want them in uniform or we want them in plain clothes? So that way it appears to be more open to the public. So the public feels that they can come and go and they're gonna see the security threat level go up. But at the same time, I don't want to discourage the public from coming and attending the meetings. The next thing you know, we're all back to Zoom like we were during COVID. Does that make sense? And I think the reason we both saw 5 officers the other day is because Zach Swearinger is the head of the committee, so. And I think that's why, because Zach's had some pretty heated meetings in the last 2.5, 3 months, especially with the regional board and stuff too. So that could be one. But to have 5 of your assets in one meeting room with less than this many people that we had attending, about the same attendance as we got today, that's overkill. That's a waste of resources.
Yeah. I don't disagree with So,
Board, we can leave it on the agenda to discuss Monday. What we'll generally just be looking for is what Director Pasnick said, is there a direction from the board would you like us to be able to reach out to the county sheriff's office, see if there's more routine presence that they could provide or not? I think it's a fair question.
I mean, I would agree with them on saying if there's an officer willing to just hang around during the time that he's on duty anyway. I mean, I agree. I could see that. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be a waste of resources because he's already on duty. He's already in the situation. Maybe he's not in the. Maybe they readdress where his area of responsibility is or something. I don't know. It's something that could be asked. I'm not trying to shut out Pastor Nick's request whatsoever. There are again, we approach avenues and see ways we can maybe have this accomplished where everybody kind of gets some sort of a deal. But at the same time, I am saying that I'm more like we take on an inherent risk regardless of what we do because of our positions anyway at the moment. And again, I say that's unfortunate, and this is where our country is. Again, sadly enough, I'm not against what he's saying in that situation. If there's already a patrol officer on duty, he can maybe make his presence in this area at the time of our meetings or something. I don't know. So once every 2 months or so, or once every 2 weeks. I'm not against that per se, but that's where I'm at with that.
I guess overall too, just quickly, there was a day and age before I was born where, to my understanding, people left their doors unlocked all the time. And nowadays there's a good, I think it's Sebastian Maniscalco skit on, he's a stand-up comedian, skit on when the doorbell rings in America 50, 60 years ago versus today. It's a lot different. So
and it'll also be on the sheriff's department if they're willing to accommodate us in that situation as well. I mean, that's something that could be looked at.
Any other discussion on that?
I'm on the fence either way we go. I'm good meeting as we are. If majority rules they want enhanced security features, then yeah. I just don't want to deter the public from attending.
This is, as far as public meetings, a good segue into our last discussion item, which is discussing the regular board meeting schedule. So we do have, just for reference, we talked about this even before this board took its seat. We were looking at different trials or different options that might be either more efficient, more helpful, whatever the intent of the meeting was agreeable to the board, trying to be able to do those things while understanding that there might be some challenges with different models. So we explored that early this year before the transition of the board. We adopted a new model, which previously there just used to be regular board of directors meetings on Monday nights. Then in this new model, we added the work sessions these Friday mornings prior to the regular board of directors meetings. Went through a period of that with the last board, got feedback, and then transitioned and kept it for this new board to see some consistency and also to see what the board might feel about it. Since then, we have noticed either, whether it's positives or negatives, different patterns that have emerged from this model we're currently at. And so we would like to discuss with the board either alternative models or different ways to be able to meet what the board's goals are that'll be efficient for the process of conducting the meeting, so that way they can conduct business while still maintaining what we understand public transparency, public engagement, abilities and tools to be able to do that. In our last discussion with this board, we brought it up as far as at least 2 or 3 models where there might be some variations to those. One, obviously keeping the status quo how we have it. Another was generally came to either Friday work session into a Monday meeting and doing that once a month. And so creating it as a discussion, work session heavy Friday session where it's during the day, getting all the discussion, allowing the board to converse, into a Monday evening, or it could be a different day, where action could take place. There might still be, and there probably would still be some discussion, but it would be less initial discussion, less long form discussion, more about here are the last things that we need before we would potentially act on it. And those were the 2 models that were generally discussed at the last one. At that time, and as we were asking the board the considerations, a point was made that we would like to wait until after the summer to follow up on this discussion, because we knew that there were some commitments throughout the season, that we would then come back afterwards to be able to discuss further. And there was a request from at least one board member to say, hey, I would like to get a little bit more public input. And so we did a survey as well, showing the 2 different models, asking a few other questions to help clarify what some priorities were from the community, and then allow them an opportunity to provide comments for it. So in discussion for this, happy to dive into details as far as the models or any discussion about it. But there is one specific question I do want to ask, which is, in your package, you'll have the results of that survey. Right now, that is just part of the board's packet. I would like to know if you would like to see that as part of the public packet or keep it as the board's packet. All the survey responses are anonymous, but there are obviously comments within those surveys, the long form, that I just want to ensure that the board had an opportunity to evaluate whether we wanted to make that public or not.
I haven't had a chance to really look at this, Christian. I'd like to look at it over the weekend.
Okay. And I'm okay with, if the discussion for Monday, it remains in obviously the board's packet. And then if the board would like to share that, that is okay too.
Can you give us a quick synopsis of what
Sure. So
we're looking at?
So going through the survey itself, the multiple choice questions asked between the 2 different models. So the first question was, which model do you prefer for the board of directors work session and meetings? It was nearly evenly split. Slight preference for maintaining the current extended discussion format. And let me back up.
I don't have your
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
So this is in regards to the way we're doing things now with the work sessions Friday.
Yes.
And then the meet. So okay, not necessarily how we do the meetings on Monday night.
No, not specifically of regular board of directors
All right.
meetings. It's the model of how we are getting to completing the business of the district within that model. So model 1 is the current one. It's the idea, and on this page, the only thing that I think might be missing from it is just seeing when those board of directors meetings take place. These were thank you. So if you look in the middle section for the current model, that's the one we currently have, where there's Friday work session preceding the second Monday and the 4th Monday of every month, where the regular board of directors meetings happen, which means there's 4 meetings that take place. In the new model, which went through discussion variation, but the way we had described it and what we put forward to the public was that we would do a Friday work session / discussion, generally limited or no action on Fridays. It was mostly about discussion, and there might be 2 to 4 hours, would be longer sessions for it. And then Monday, or a different day, the following week would be then action. It would be a regular meeting where there could still take place, discussions could still take place, but it was intended for action. Generally keeping the same format of evenings, 5:30 p.m. start time, for instance. That had morphed into just those 2 meetings once a month. So 1 long form Friday discussion work session, 1 Monday following or another day action. So we'd still be meeting twice a month, like our old model, but they would be happening within a shorter time frame, so that way it would translate from discussion to action, while trying to preserve a time in between to be able to either receive comments or allow the board to discuss further. Those are the two models that we put out there. We described them in those details for the public to be able to understand before they did the multiple choice. And then, if you would like, I can go over the multiple choice questions and what the version of the answers were, or the ratio of the answers were.
And this survey's been sent out?
Yes, and it's been
So you had 55 responses out of 1,859 recipients?
Yep.
So these are probably people that normally watch and are. Yeah.
I would
actually know, because it says that they rarely
Oh.
down here.
Yeah, so I would only make the assumption that these are folks who are on the alert system, they're able to respond, and they're probably more likely to respond to surveys. Obviously, members of the community. Some have identified whether they attend meetings, whether they watch meetings at all, whether they watch after. I can go through that response as far as the breakdown for the questions and how they responded out of the 55 who did elect to respond to that survey. And this process does prevent from multiple people going in and saying, yep, I'm going to be the one to answer that.
You
There are
had those
systems.
stats question by question
Yes.
in the packet?
And they're, yep, they're in the
Okay.
packet. Right now, that is part of the board's packet, not the public packet.
Yeah, I was unable to open everything up, so I'm behind the power curve already.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'll look at it over the weekend.
I'll go through real quick. The model was pretty evenly split. The meeting length was thought to be about right majority, about 60%, with 34% saying too long and 6% saying too short. The importance of detailed discussion, how important is it for you to hear detailed discussion on agenda items before decisions are made? 50% said very important, 44% somewhat important, 6% said not important or neutral. Respect for public's time and transparency. Do you feel the current meeting structure respects the public's time while maintaining transparency? 28% said yes, 26% said no, 46% said not sure or neutral. And then a question about efficiency versus public input. Would you support a more efficient process if it meant fewer opportunities for public discussion? 29% said yes, 38% said no, 33% said depends on the topic. Couple more questions, two more questions. How often do you attend or watch board meetings and work sessions? 35% said regularly, 43% said occasionally, 22% said rarely or never. And then what is your preferred way to stay informed about board decisions? 62% said watching, recording, or live streams. 16% said read summaries or minutes. 15% said social media updates, and 7% said attend in person.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
All the questions.
A quick individual opinion of looking at those stats. They aren't telling you a whole lot specifically. They're not majorly leaning one way or not. There are a couple that 60% or higher, you're seeing a little bit more input or direction from as far as the public input, but it is above, a typical sample survey population of 30 people. You are getting at least a sample survey of this population. Obviously, it's not 14,000 households. Obviously, it's not 1,800 people who sign up for the alerts. What I would like to direct the board's attention to probably would be the open remarks. There are several consistencies and patterns within that may be more telling of some of the input or feedback that they do see that may not align with questions. It may not be a question of, is the board meeting too long, or is it too short, or should it be this model or that model, but they may be saying something about the intention and the details of what's being presented, the discussion that is happening. You may get some more from that. But I would say that this survey by itself is probably not giving you a very specific direction on which model you should go with, so it kind of is up to the board.
You're talking about the participant response?
Yeah.
You want to leave this on the agenda, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, we can say, leave it alone, or whatever. I will say, and this isn't disparaging in any way towards you, but when we have 1,859 recipients and 55 responses, and then are expected to make decisions based on 55 responses out of 1,859, when we asked the survey about whether or not you should be a resident of Pueblo West, 304 people responded, and we still didn't pay any attention to the survey. So I appreciate feedback, but I mean, really, when you get a remark that someone says and they want to be anonymous, it's apparent the requests for feedback are irrelevant, and the board will do whatever they please regardless.
Sounds like somebody.
those types of responses to me are non-starters, because they're not engaged. There's a lot that the board considers. I think we try to consider all things that are responses and then do what's best for the whole public, not just 55 people. So, I don't know, I have a little bit of
It's too
issue
small of a pool.
with the
I agree.
responses submitted trying for us to make a decision on what we should do as a board. I don't know, it's kind of discouraging.
I agree. It is pretty discouraging when you look at 3% of those that were sent out responded, and then you get some of these anonymous writings discussing some things that most probably aren't even purview of because they probably didn't watch the meeting to begin with. I'm just assuming, but sometimes you get that 3%, and then they want to get upset at us when we do the things that we're doing when they're not even really engaged anyway. It is discouraging to me.
I think the comments are, some of them are kind of a joke, but there's other ones that I think are at least somewhat insightful. I wouldn't be opposed to making the whole thing public.
Yeah.
But we're really talking about one work session a month as opposed to two.
We talk about one work session, one meeting per month, so 2 meetings total in a month. A work session kind of like
One's
this.
a work session and the one's the one that we take action on.
Essentially, yes, as the alternative model.
I would be opposed to that as far as not 2 action meetings.
I'm in
We
the-
have- we have
I'm in
too
the same
much-
boat
We have
there,
too much
Bill.
going on to make decisions. My opinion. One of them would be a work session and one of them would be an action meeting. So you'd have 2 meetings a month, but you're only making decisions at one.
And so that doesn't mean that there aren't other opportunities to make decisions as things come up, special meetings. The routine of what we should be seeing as far as discussions with the board and seeing the action from the board are typically supposed to be streamlined in such a way that they allow the board an opportunity to review packet material, be able to discuss it at length with each other, and then act on it. What we've noticed in the past with this model is we spend 3 times discussing it for 1 action, which takes an entire whole month still, regardless of that. We're getting 1 action meeting a month for that particular.
Because you're doing work session, talking about it, and then at the meeting on Monday, talking about
Yes.
it, if it's a discussion item.
Yes.
And then it shows up again, you're saying?
Yep. So those things that we have that come up, yes, you have 2 meetings where action takes place. But what's really happening is each item goes through a series of, we get the packet to the board typically on Wednesday, the early packet. We then have a work session on Friday to discuss the very first time. Then we have it Monday night for discussion. Then we get to the next work session with the packet ahead of time, which right now is only a couple of days, to be able to discuss during a work session. And then the 4th meeting where there is an action, that's when we're taking action. So definitely respect the point of there are multiple times to be able to have those discussion opportunities where there's more meetings across the month, but still 3 discussion items, 1 action.
Would it make more sense just to, what discussion items we have on Friday would be an action item on Monday? Not another discussion, because Friday is a public session. People can watch it and stream, understand the discussion, and we can take action on it Monday. I'm not opposed to that. Used to, they would, before we had the electronics, we had the meetings on Tuesdays. We got our packets on Fridays. You had all weekend and Monday to look at the packet, and then you did the business on Tuesday. So we didn't have work sessions. Boards were kind of encouraged to look at all the material
Yeah, so no issue with the adjustment to that. That still preserves at least a weekend for the public to see that conversation on Friday, digest it, provide comment, or there's a period before the action takes place. The staff part of it is where the challenge of multiple meetings across that becomes problematic. We have a lot of these examples, the middle one, those yellow days that you're seeing up there are the days staff are actively engaged with trying to make sure the packet's prepared then we're setting the meeting up and then running the meeting, then follow on for any actions afterwards. And that leaves limited days in between when there are roles and responsibilities within the strategic world or the strategic level that actually could be taking place. A lot of what the board is envisioned as far as their policy guidance should be able to happen and be able to provide direction for staff to then be able to operate and come back, facilitate, and be able to go through routine. But right now, what has been happening, at least for staff involved in this, not the entire, obviously, district, but a lot of the senior leadership team, is we're getting wrapped into a style that otherwise prevents us from having much time in between meetings. We're just cycling into these moments where we're preparing for a meeting, getting a little bit of a break, and then preparing for another meeting, rather than working on the things that often we would do otherwise. At least condensing those into the 2 meetings into a 2-week period creates a lot more time in between the meeting cycles, which allows for that work to take place and those roles and responsibilities better fleshed out.
I guess I have a hard time understanding what else, I mean, I understand there's other things you want to be doing, but a big responsibility of the district clerk and whoever else is working on these is to provide information for the board so that they can provide direction to the staff. I guess there's more time involved there necessary than what, 16th, 17th, 19th, and 20th.
Maybe an analogy of if you had a project that you were doing and you understood you had to do that project, and it would take, let's say, a whole year to be able to do it. Stopping every...
Could the wastewater people stay here for my question?
Sure. Thank you for that. If you have to interrupt the project that you are doing every couple of weeks as you're preparing for, or every couple of days in this case, preparing for the meetings that involve those, then you run into the situation that it's picking up, dropping it, picking up, dropping it. And this project, in this mind, is all the strategic plan and all the strategic direction we should be getting from the board, essentially at a meeting, to be able to discuss and guide us towards there. In the idea of 3 models of general leadership for providing guidance, strategic, operational, and tactical, for those who are in the military probably remember some of those words. Strategic is the board's general where they should be living, providing information, providing guidance, providing direction, so that way the operational aspects of it can be committed to and be able to operate on. Operational departments, especially parks, utilities, fire, those should have the guidance and direction from the board, so that way they can be able to act and do the things that they can without constantly needing touch points for it. What this model is supposed to achieve is a singular touch point with discussion, with guiding the board, with still giving all those achievements for the transparency of the packet, the information ahead of time to the board, because the idea would be that we wouldn't be getting the packet 2 days ahead of the board, 2 days ahead of our first work session. We'd probably get it out sooner. So that way there's more meaningful discussion prior to it, and it's leaving essentially 4 weeks in a row to be able to actually act upon those things before we're back with the board. Right now, the idea of more touch points lends itself to more operational and tactical, where we're creating those situations where we're changing a little bit of the direction, or the worst case scenario is there could be changing a little bit of the direction every 2 weeks. The previous model, and just every 2 weeks, one of the big challenges with it was there was so much time between discussion and action. The second Monday in a meeting, or second Monday in a month, you discuss that item, but you wouldn't take action on it for 2 weeks later, which means a lot could potentially happen in 2 weeks. There could be a conversation, and oftentimes what happened is we forgot. We lost sight of what it was we had discussed 2 weeks ago. Now we're trying to act on it, so we're rehashing that discussion. We're trying to close the gap between discussion and action, and the only thought about doing it in 1 2-week period rather than 2 2-week periods is it frees up for actual action to take place outside of board meetings, which is a lot of where things do happen.
Maybe we do away with work sessions.
That's another model we've talked about, yeah. The value of a work session.
One work session a month.
What's that?
One work session a month instead of 2 and 1 action meeting, or 1 action meeting, no work session.
Open for discussion or conversation if there's any variations to the model.
Look at them over the weekend, guys. Think about it.
I mean, I'm not going to try to find it, there's a lot of comments, but one of the comments I thought was pretty good, I guess pertains to this, in the sense that, from what I remember, they essentially said the work session is for a lot of the discussion, and then the meeting on Monday should be about doing business in public, which is making the decision. So
That's, use the work session more effectively to discuss items that can be easily removed to Monday night meeting for action. Board meetings should not be used as civic engagement event. Leave those to the community roundtables and use the board meetings as designed to conduct business in public.
Yeah, I like that comment. That's at least how I see the, I think we get sometimes stuck in, okay, like I plan on not repeating myself on the security thing, because if I do, then what's the point of saying anything here? That's how I look at it. It's like, that meeting on Monday, like, we're just repeating ourselves. So the meeting on Monday should be about making decisions and moving forward. I think that's how we get stuck in 4 to 5 hour long meetings.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of times we're repeating ourselves. I mean, this meeting is public, is it not? It's live streamed. People can look at this one just as much as they can look at the one on Monday.
And I think Bree brought that up a while back about why don't we turn this into what we want to move into action items and get action items moving on Monday and make that and I kind of agree with that. We're already here. Might as well just cover the topics that we can discuss, and if it needs more discussion, then we put it into discussion later, maybe on the Fridays, but moving Mondays into the action items, and we're moving forward with that situation on Mondays and taking care of business on Mondays.
Yeah, so I appreciate it, because that is essentially what Model 2 is aiming to do. The only difference was it was doing it once a month rather than twice a month, which can be a conversation. Just to add a little bit of feedback, that's actually, it happened over time or evolved over time. The original work session being brought up was intended to be, let's discuss topics at length for the first time to be able to do it. So that way it would transition to making the Monday meetings shorter. You weren't repeating yourself. You might still make the comment of like, this is why I feel this way, but it wasn't as long. It actually worked for a little bit. But then we found it repeating and recycling, and not just, talking about this board, but even with the last board, there were certain topics that oftentimes would be, especially if they're controversial, or there's a lot of either contention or disagreement between board members, there would be the rehash of that whole discussion on a Monday. So it wasn't always effective in that aspect, but the intent was this to be a discussion work session, understand the material. At first, it was more informal. It wasn't live streamed initially. It transitioned into that. So it is leaning itself more towards exactly what Model 2 is offering. Work session, discussion, Friday, heavier topics, still public, still streamed, everything's available. But then Monday night being more about action and reducing the time having to repeat yourself or repeat any of the topics themselves. The only value of having it one 2-week period instead of 2 2-week periods, essentially one action meeting versus 2 action meetings, is it frees up to be able to do the work in between those, as long as we can maintain that once a month would be good enough or valuable enough to be able to say, yes, we can get all the material and items that we need for the board's decisions, needs for the board's direction during that session, and it would leave and free up the rest of the time to be able to conduct the work outside of the board meetings. To be honest, the feedback we gave at the last one where we talked about this, there is that concern that maybe once a month is not enough. We have historically had 2 different iterations, so that might increase the number of special meetings we would have to have where something comes up in those down periods where there isn't a board meeting. It's like, we need action now, though. So there is that concern for it. But I think it's something we did want to experience or trial, because I think if it was successful, it would leave a lot more for actually following through with in between the meetings actual work to be done.
So just for clarification, we're talking about taking the discussion portion and just leaving that on Mondays and not having it on Fridays.
If I understand correctly, right now I think most have indicated that they're in favor of making Friday work sessions discussion, strategic discussion heavy, and then making Monday action. Am I missing?
Yeah, that's what they were intended. I thought that's what they were intended for all along.
Okay, so between Friday and Monday, we're looking at 3 days where the public will have an opportunity to address what we discussed in discussion.
Yeah.
On Friday. If they want to address anything in that discussion, they could online or either in person address it at the Monday meeting. Is that what we're looking at?
Yes, in that case, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday before the meeting starts would be those opportunities.
Okay.
Or Friday afternoon, I guess.
And I heard you mention special meetings earlier. I'll come back to that.
Well, I would say that would be tougher for everybody here because
Yeah.
we plan for meetings. And if
Yeah.
you pop up a special meeting, then you're probably going to have less attendance
Yeah.
of board members.
I agree with
Can't-
that.
Not, three of these guys just can't drop what they're doing. Well, four, like I can.
No, three.
So,
Three.
the idea of if we trialed anything that involved the risk of the higher special meetings is that if it obviously wasn't working, you always revert back. The concern exists there, but I don't know if it's a realistic concern. There aren't too many times where we've had, yes, an action item needs to take place within a time frame or window where we didn't realize it was going to happen until after one meeting started and then before the next one. A lot of what's happening right now is that we're getting something in between that may come up in which we are prepared for action and we're providing to the board because it might accelerate a process towards it. There's only a couple times throughout the year I can think of where we've had to say, yes, board, we need you to take action. And there's even fewer times out of that I thought we didn't know about that until the last minute.
I think the processes can be refined, but I think 2 meetings a month is, I know we don't do things the old way just because it's been done that way, but, you know, for 50 years and most entities that I know of are doing two meetings a month. So there's probably some reason for that.
So Highlands Ranch-
Whether we do it
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
differently, make one I don't know, I hate to relegate to 1 meeting a month for making decisions and then have to have a special meeting if something comes up. It's typically you can work something in within the 2-week period. I would be more in favor of doing away with work sessions and making the board be more proactive on their due diligence for the study of the material.
The only thing I want to point out is that 2-week or that 2-meeting time frame that we've been suggesting is Highland Ranch model. The only difference we really come up with is a shorter time in between. They do a Wednesday and Tuesday. That last one is their model. We're talking about Friday, Monday, but obviously those days could change. I think Friday has been consistently available for most board members, and that's why we've stuck with that for work sessions. But there are other models that essentially do that.
I remember us talking about doing a Friday morning thing, work session, and then a Friday evening
Yep. So what?
public meeting.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. One of the things is that, to be fair, you don't take action in a work session, but you can adjourn the work session and then hold a public meeting where you can take action. So a Friday morning, for instance, could be the work session, and then Friday afternoon could be, hey, these are action items that we've already discussed, we just need to take them now, or we're ready to take those actions now, and then still have the Monday meeting for the primary actions that would otherwise have been discussed that morning. That's also an option.
Makes me curious how many discussion items that we need action on would be pushed back because we only got less than 24 hours to digest it, look into it, and evaluate it.
Yeah, I think it
Before a
exactly.
public meeting.
In that model, what I had heard when we discussed it in the past was, it wasn't that we wanted to make the same discussion item for the first time happening on Friday morning, action Friday afternoon, because it limited that time in between just public comment or anybody able to comment on. That would probably be reserved more for action items that otherwise were not challenging. There's nothing that comes up as far as like the quick, just, hey, we want direction for the staff. Or they're ones that we maybe have discussed before, but weren't ready to take action on. So we got more information and came back to it. And all this obviously can be, we're in the work session now, open discussion for us, so it's nothing we need necessarily direction for now. But the conversation probably is good to talk about right now, so that way Monday we understand where we're kind of given direction from.
My thing's always been, if I can get the packet a week ahead of time, I could personally do without a work session and just, if I have enough time to just read through the packet and digest it, and do my own research as needed on it. We could have this discussion on Monday as far as I'm concerned. I guess why you guys switched it was because they were running 6 hours long or something sometimes.
So, for instance, taking that third model, The idea would be to, instead of seeing on Wednesday, see on Friday, either that Friday prior or that Monday prior, we'd be providing the packet to the board in initial draft form.
Say that again? Start
So
over.
on that model with the bottom one, trying to use that as an example.
Yeah.
That if the 20th was the first work session discussion day, either the 13th or the 16th, that Friday or Monday prior, we would be intending to send the board the packet, so that way they could have it a little bit ahead of time, more so than the 18th, which is what it is right now. And there would be that time to be able to evaluate, and then we'd come to the work session, discuss it, be able to do it. If it was one of those things, as you mentioned, where we've already discussed it before, or it's a simple matter, maybe it's acted on in that afternoon after we break from the work session portion of it. Otherwise, the discussion takes place the 20th, and then either the 23rd or to your point, in the past, I know there were Tuesday meetings. Even if there was another day that was desired, you could adjust to that day, so that way there's an additional day involved where that 23rd or 24th, that Monday or Tuesday would be the action meeting.
And then on that case, so the public would get to meet the packet on the same day that we do?
We could do it that way. Historically, we have just provided to the board for them to discuss before we make it public. In this case, what would happen is we would probably publish the 18th, normally, not to say we can't change. We'd normally publish the 18th before the end of day, before that meeting, because we do have that 24-hour requirement.
Nice.
We could still do the day that the board gets it. That would just give us an opportunity in case there was any changes.
So when do we publish the stuff now?
Right now, we do it Friday afternoons. We're only required 24 hours ahead of it. Technically, that means on Monday night meetings, we don't have to publish till Sunday. But we do it on the Friday. Obviously, the normal work schedule works out, and it gives them more days to be able to review the packet.
Is there any way to practically streamline the packet? I mean, I tried to read that 600-page contract, but after 200 pages, I quit. So, in reality, is there really a necessity to print that other than a highlighted synopsis? Would that reduce some of the workload for staff if they're not having to generate those huge packets?
So, we have a desire to make sure that the board has all the material to review before they make a decision on it. So we provide all the material associated with any decision, whether, and I do agree, sometimes 600-page contract and packet comes with it. And I recognize that reading a 600-page contract, not fun. We have experimented with potentially, whether it's AI or something, to generative, like, hey, here's a summary for things. We do provide staff reports that do kind of the same, try to give you a piece of, here's the background, the summary, here's what action we're asking you to take, here's the financial implication of previous board action or recommendation. Right now, we don't print any packets. We do just do it electronically. So there's not really any other steps that are taking it out of us, at least for printing. The preparation to make sure that all the material is there in case there is that question from the board or the board member to say, hey, what about this, what about that, I didn't see this. That's why we include it on that, because the worst case scenario is reading from a contract that might be in one person's hand that nobody else can see, and they're saying to you, yes, this is what's in it, and then find out later, as an example, not saying it happened, but find out later, no, that wasn't, and no board member had a chance to review it, and then we feel like we didn't inform the board. So that's why they usually end up there, as far as the full packet. But the challenge right now with trying to get some of those packets out earlier is we're running into basically the previous meeting, and that's why we're as condensed as we are. Wednesdays we're sending out the packet, Friday's the first discussion. But to be fair, we know we're going to discuss it Friday, discuss it Monday, discuss it another Friday, and then act on it. So there hasn't been as big of a challenge. If we go into that new model where it's condensed in 2 weeks, we would aim to make sure we had that packet to the board and to the public sooner.
Just to piggyback onto that too, Director or President Vickers, the part of the reason why we wanted to do transition to the board portal was to reduce paper, but it also makes it easier to kind of get to the meat of the matter. So when you're going through each agenda item, you can highlight, okay, this is the staff report, this is what's going to kind of give the overall synopsis. This might be the contract or whatever it might be. It kind of breaks it up, because before you guys were getting a giant packet and you guys had to go through and cipher through it all. The board portal allows you to go agenda item by agenda item. It makes it a little bit easier to digest and read and select the material that you want to digest first.
So, be the devil's advocate here. Where's the workload pileup happening then? Is the the board approved 2 positions to seemingly take workload off of you and other areas of the district. But I guess I'm asking is why the consternation over preparing for these meetings? I get it that the work sessions can create, but once you've created the documentation for a work session, there should be no more work than moving it over into the meeting.
You mean the Saturday, Sunday? That's the only time in between the work session and the meeting.
Well, I know, but once that information is there, it doesn't need to be altered, right?
Unless there's anything that comes from this meeting altering it, which has happened in the past. You've asked for additional information or asked for an additional item that may have come in the Friday work session.
Okay, so what I guess what I'm getting at is historically, board members have always had questions and discussions about all the business that is going on with the district. It seems to me that it's just of late that this has become an extraordinary workload that keeps staff busy an extraordinary amount of time. So I want to know why.
We doubled the
What's
meetings.
changed? Okay,
We
so
doubled.
let's back the meetings off.
Exactly, we could do that. There's opportunities for further efficiencies, further things to make things better that make it so that way we're not spending right now. So we know that having second and fourth Monday of every month is when we're going to discuss an act. That brings back that concern. There's 2 weeks in between where there's time to lose sight of what we discussed the first meeting when we're acting on it in the second meeting, which has historically happened. We tried to reduce it in some forms or fashion in the past by providing options or trials that maybe condense that. We haven't had a trial yet to show whether that would be helpful or not. The work sessions were solving a different problem, which is we got to the discussion on that first Monday, not having reviewed the packet at all, or we're concerns of not people not reviewing it. And then there wasn't a good discussion that first one. So then we wait until the 2 weeks later where there's action. That's the first time we're actually actively discussing it. And now we have to also take action on it. That was what we were trying to solve by having the work session initially. Offered an opportunity for the board to discuss, learn a little bit about the material, come Monday to discuss it, and then be able to have a better conversation. But now we still run into 2 weeks before we even get to the action, and there's time to lose sight of what that actual discussion item was. So trying to condense it into a streamline it essentially, just make it more efficient so that we get to a point that the board can get the packet, understand and have a discussion about it, and act on is what we're trying to achieve. And I don't think that's disagreeable from what I'm hearing from you or anybody. The only thing that I think is a question is, I guess, 3 potential models I'm hearing. One is the one that we would like to recommend a trial on. Can we condense it to essentially the Highlands Ranch model, where it's in a 2-week period of time and it's easier, and we can see if there's a better product output efficiency from us not having as much involvement with preparation, execution of packet and board meetings from 2 cycles. Option 2, which sounds like keep the existing model, but change work sessions into discussion and work sessions, and then Mondays into actions. Or 3, totally eliminate the work sessions, only keep the Monday nights. Out of those, the third one keeps that challenge of in between the meetings and the preparation. The second one keeps things as it is, but doesn't trial a potentially more efficient, potentially more challenging model for it. And the first one at least experiments with it while keeping all those same things in mind. That's all.
Yeah, my personal opinion, I'd prefer the work sessions be work sessions and then Monday night is action. And I would prefer to try that before we went to the Highlands Ranch model.
Well, these
No.
aren't gonna be going into action items unless we say, hey, we wanna turn these ones into action items. These are the discussion items that we're discussing. Which ones need to be further discussed? And if they don't need, if we're on the agreements with pushing them into action items, we push them into action items on Monday and take care of them and do the necessary work to say they're good to go. No? Is that
No, I'm having a hard time understanding that we haven't, because you guys direct the agenda, right? I mean, you move the stuff to action based on the input that you get. I mean, so this agenda that we have now, we have action items there.
Yeah.
Will we not take action on those? Monday?
Yes, we will.
Okay, that's my point. You guys move stuff to action. If we discuss it and we want it to be an action, then we should be taking action on it, right?
Today?
No,
On
Monday. I don't know where where I'm losing the disconnect as to what,
So right now.
what happens.
So the earliest model, the base model of the board meetings is every second and fourth Monday, we have regular meetings before the work sessions. There, the first time we would, and just practice of what we want to do and what we want to achieve is the first time an item comes up, we put it on for discussions. The board can discuss it, public can hear the discussion. Then there's a waiting period between that and an action taking place, which means that that first Monday we have it for discussion, that second Monday we have it for action. Right now, we have that same existing model.
That's what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
So-
But we have work sessions where we're also discussing discussion and action items prior to the discussion and action meetings.
Oh, I see. So what you have on the discussion now is the discussion Monday.
Yep.
And
Correct.
doesn't get
Right.
moved to action
It does not.
until.
Right.
Okay, so we need to decide to take the discussion items and move them to action.
In that second
Can we-
model, which I think is what you were talking about. Yeah.
Can we do that at this meeting, though? We're not allowed to take action, right?
You can take action here. If you would like any of the discussion items to be moved to action, you could.
Gotcha,
What
okay. I thought we had to do that on Monday.
Taking action, but moving the
Yeah,
Moving
agenda
your
around. is
discussion
different.
items to action items.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where and again, that's where I'm at. I'm like, why can't we discuss this here, get all that work detail out, and then move all that stuff into action items and say, yeah, I'm for that, or do
Yep.
our voting and say,
That's-
move it.
That's the goal of Model 2, is to make it so that way we discuss it hopefully once at length.
Okay, I'm getting lost.
I agree with that.
I see model options, option 1, 2, 3, and then you're like, we're changing the titles of these, so
Yeah, as the discussion is evolving, it's not going to evolve forward, I apologize. So the idea essentially, I don't know if you have another.
there was another slide that had options. and-
Option,
Yeah, I don't know if I still have it.
There it is, yeah, see?
Yeah.
So,
So,
we keep bouncing back and forth, and it's, in your terminology, it's
yeah,
confusing.
I think everybody's having fun. So.
Because the current model is not option 2, as I see
No,
it.
because we have talked about it in a gesture sense. The idea of what we were trying to achieve essentially, and what you're seeing up there, has been option 2 or option 3. The ideas behind them is just condensing to having those opportunities to discuss and act within a narrower time frame, where there's still opportunities for public input, and the ability to then transition into action within a reasonable time frame. And preventing this idea of stop-start between board meeting week, non-board meeting week, board meeting week, non-board meeting week. It's not a specific workload, it's the energy and the attention being spent on it. It's the idea that we're going to be involved, we're going to be looking at the board meeting, we're going to be prepping the packet, or we're going to be looking at board members who are providing us feedback, hey, I would like to see this on the packet, or sorry, the agenda, and us working towards that. If it's spread across the entire month, that means there's more opportunities and more takeaway that happen in between it, versus if it's condensed to a 2-week period. I apologize to Director Pasternik's point of the Friday doing talk in the morning and the afternoon. Option number 2 was that with still the 2 meetings. Essentially, I think that's probably the model that is closest to what everybody is discussing and still wants. It's still 2 action meetings a month. They're just condensed. There's still a discussion in the morning and the afternoon. But it does rob, or it does change, that we're not having meetings in the after hours. The idea behind option number 2 originally, which wasn't the one we talked about, so we're kind of revisiting it, but the option number 2 was Fridays are the meetings, where in the morning we have strategic discussion, then we break from that, and then probably in the afternoon or whenever we're done with the discussion, transitioning into action and then acting on it. And doing that twice a month, just in the second and third Friday instead of the second and fourth Friday. But I know we've talked about in the past, there's a question of, do we want those after-hour meetings or not? I would say, based on the feedback you've at least gotten within the survey from there, a lot of people do stream or do watch the meetings themselves rather than attend. I can understand the perspective that if they're not after normal business hours, it means there's less opportunity to attend when it comes to those who work a normal 8 or 9 to 5. But it's obviously up to the board as well. So, did that help clear a little bit of the discussion up? That's fair.
When you're talking about the new model, number 3,
Yep.
okay, and that screen's up, we're talking about one of these 3 options as the new model, right? Correct?
It's a hybrid of the third one.
Because you got the current model, you got the old model,
I don't understand why today can't be discussing the items and then Monday action.
So if I may jump in for a second, Brianne Mignoni, District Clerk.
We had it split screen.
I'm not worried
With
about
both
this.
those
I'm just saying
charts.
what we can, because
So-
any of those changes, I definitely won't be able to do the third option, not with my work schedule.
So to Director Pasternak's point about trying to do the morning and then doing an evening session or afternoon session for a meeting, there wouldn't be able to be anything publicly posted to the public with the changes to the agenda. So just from my perspective, I have to post everything at least 24 hours. I'm just directing it to his. The only hiccup I see with that option is that whatever packet I publish on, let's say, the Wednesday beforehand, that's a packet you're going to have, and there wouldn't be able to be any changes publicly posted to the website, because otherwise we would be out of compliance as far as what we need to do. Because by law, I have to post within 24 hours in advance. If I try to change the packet with like your changes, like let's say we're in this work session, you make changes in the morning to it, we wouldn't be able to change that packet. There wouldn't be able to be changes made to it for the public to see, because we've had to post it 24 hours in advance. So if you're meeting that afternoon, nothing could be changed. Does that make sense?
No, I mean, today, right now.
I thought we could, in the meetings, change stuff from discussion
Discussion to
to
action.
You can, but let's say you want extra information, is what I'm trying to say. I can't change the packet that's already visible to the public. Does that make sense? The
We don't
public.
have all the information until Monday.
So like so right now,
We would have to have somebody in here talking, if we needed more information, they need to be
correct,
in the-
it wouldn't be in the packet available, is what I'm trying to say to the public.
Can I suggest something real quick? Can we have Greg ask the wastewater question so that they can leave
Yeah.
if they need
Yeah,
to?
good point. Mind asking a question?
Okay, so I actually got 3 questions. First one is about wastewater. Yesterday in the golf course meeting, of course, they want to replace the water lines. And they were talking about project money and all that other stuff. But I was just curious, have we any calculations on wastewater credits through absorption in the soil of the water that's been leaking?
You mean return flow?
Yeah, I believe that's part of Article 3.
For the golf course specifically, you're asking?
Correct. Because they got water, they got sprinkler
Yes.
lines leaking.
Yeah, so currently, that doesn't go to the wastewater system, so we are not currently collecting those. But with our Part B, which we're working to start, as soon as we get all of our mechanisms in place, it will collect that leakage from the golf course.
But we don't have any calculations as of yet.
We have the calculations, we just don't have the infrastructure fully set up, and because it causes us to have some flow meters at those places where it's collecting the drainage.
So where I just thought of this, you guys are already on it.
Yes, we are on
Okay.
it.
Thank you. That's it. Yeah.
All right.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
No.
Actually, I think I do have one, I'm sorry. And then you just brought it up. Is there any way to cut the water off until the thing needs to, is there any way to have a shut-off valve to where the water's not being wasted and going out to where, ahead of the line? To where we have something dug and we can have a shut-off valve, and then when they need water the yard, they turn it on and water it, and then turn it off after it's watered. Something to help prevent the water from being wasted. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's my
Something to
understanding-
temporary fix until we can get the daggum water or the lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. It's my understanding that most of the leakage is actually happening when the water's turned on.
that's it.
So when the water is turned off and they are not watering, the leakage is very small. It's when they go to turn on, they want to water, that it's leaking more than it is going through their sprinkler system
Oh,
to get
I
to
see.
the actual
Okay.
areas
It's
that they want to.
yeah, it's-
But when their
Yeah,
water
the-
system is
the
turned
control
off,
station.
I believe there's just a very small bit of leakage that's happening.
It's probably just the residual in the line.
So it's not the main service line to the golf course, it's
No,
there
it's
after.
their irrigation system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you, that's all.
And while I'm up here, the gray water conversation has been moved to the next board meeting, just due to us getting our paperwork situated for you guys, just so you have an update on that.
Okay.
So you move that discussion to another discussion?
Due to board recommendations, we moved that.
Let's make that a special discussion next Friday. Let's do that next Friday, special discussion. Special meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around.
No
Thank you
problem.
for that. Oh, man, okay.
The other two can wait until later.
That's not gonna work. Maybe. Yeah, that'll be perfect. This is fun. All right, so, and I don't know, I apologize for anybody watching at home to have to see me. Just to give you a visual representation of what we're calling model number 3 is, and we're just using these 2 weeks as an example, exactly as Director Potter discussed or said. The idea is Friday is, as we're doing now, it is a work session, but we're also discussing the item. So the length of the discussion that sometimes you see the Monday, or even today and Monday, would be happening here. All those discussions at the very base model would just happen there, and then everything would then be moved to action that following Monday during the normal meeting times.
And we're talking about any of the items that were discussed, we want to move to action items on Monday.
Yes.
So then we would have to
So-
have a motion.
No, you don't. We would prepare the
I would say,
agenda.
hey, Director Vickers, can we get that added to the agenda?
We would
as an
essentially,
action item?
we'd essentially prepare agendas for 2 meetings.
Okay.
A Friday work session that has asked for discussion and action, and a Monday with a lot of those discussion items and this would be discussion and work session. And then you'd have an agenda already stating that those ones we talked about are being readied for action on Monday. If there was anything that you wanted not to, you said, hey, after discussing this, I don't think we're ready to take action on Monday, you could instruct us and say, we would like those tabled for the next session, and that is fine.
And is that part of our trial and error period?
That's the intent, is the trial, so there's only,
I mean, if we get public comment saying, what happened to discussion?
we would say that
Without
we're,
them having previous knowledge that we're only going to do discussion on Fridays?
yeah.
No,
So,
no, I get that.
To-
Then you got those who didn't see this.
to the point of, we
know
would,
that we're going to switch it up.
we would send information out letting them know that the meeting schedule had changed, or that the intent of meetings had changed. So, for instance, in this case, we would say, on October 1st, or starting in October, we are trialing a new board meeting. You will see work sessions that are still taking place Friday from 9 to 11, or whatever time it would be, where we're going to be discussing at length topics that are then going to be acted on in the normal board meeting at 5:30 on Monday night. And that, in this model, this would be the only 2. We would say that additional meetings would not take place, the additional meeting would not take place that month. So yes, we would send information out. The only variation we talked about to that was using these days as both work session discussion and action for things that maybe need to be acted on that either don't have the time to wait until another week, because in this model, it's not as severe. But if this was a Wednesday, for instance, you could have it where you could still act, you just have to come out of the work session and then turn it into a actual regular meeting for it. Those action items would only be things probably very non-controversial. Hey, we just need you to approve the signers on an authorized signing banking list. Or they'd be like, hey, we discussed this at another time. We're actually ready to act on this sooner, and there's a reason we want to act on it today. That would be the variation to that model. To the point of what President Vickers brought up, if we want to keep the 2 separate action meetings per month, then I would ask us to reconsider what option number 2, which is on the actual slide, not any variations to it, actually on the slide is, which is you're meeting 2 Fridays a month back to back, where they are both discussion and action. And then you would have an opportunity to do discussion in the morning, in the work session in the morning like we do today, break from the work session into an action in the afternoon, assuming that, the whole morning took the discussion, and you do that twice a month. What that allows us to do is just ensure that we're not spreading out the discussion across the entire month. It's creating a much more condensed time frame while still maintaining the discussion periods for the board, or the public to provide comment, and for the board to have with each other. So I've added a new variable to the mix.
And that's 2 times a month?
Yes, option number 2 right on the thing.
The only thing I have a problem with is Friday. Friday, to a lot of people, is, these guys, and sometimes it's an opportunity to take the day off and do something different. And whether now you're constrained to be, I don't know, Friday seems to be a tough day for a lot of people.
Fridays are slightly ahead of Mondays. Fridays and Mondays are tough typically, usually the 4-day weekends,
Yeah.
somebody wanting to take an extra day off. So I don't disagree with that
Back
thought.
to Tuesdays. I mean, What
So-
was the problem with Tuesday? I don't.
So compared to that, what that model is allowing you to do is discuss at length during the time frame we're having right now, Fridays, which is typically, seems convenient for a lot of people. It's not happening on Monday evenings, Tuesday evenings, any of those evenings, where it seems a little bit more challenging. The worst case scenarios we saw play out in previous boards is that we would have a pretty at-length discussed topic, especially early on in the meeting, and it drew the meeting until 3 hours passed, but we'd still have discussion items, strategic discussion, additional things that we were trying to discuss. And this is not offense to anybody, but you could see the life coming out of people's eyes after 9 o'clock
Oh, yeah.
and trying to discuss those items. And so we lost the meaningful engagement for it. So Fridays have, I think, at least from our perspective, been a lot better at stimulating and facilitating the discussion period of it. Whether people are morning people or not, it has seemed to help with people to actually have good, whether it's spirited discussion or just open discussion on it, on those Fridays. So going to the Tuesdays in that model, the only problem is we risk that happening again. And it's human. That's not, criticism against anybody. People, especially people who are working 9 to 5 and then going into a board meeting, that can be tough.
To answer the situation with what Bree's concern is not having the proper information for these discussion items if we have questions. But that's the whole discussion part, is where stuff that we don't need to really have a whole lot of information on, we move it forward, turn it into action items, and those that we want more information on, we keep it as a discussion item, maybe not go, unless somebody comes in on Monday to present this item, then we discuss it until we're comfortable with moving into the action item. But I think that would help really speed things up on Mondays, because I'll be honest with you, unless it's a Friday situation, and Mondays I have to cut work sort of early,
Gotcha.
in a sense. But this is working for me. And again, there's four other people here that it may not be working for, but I don't necessarily dislike how we're doing it right now, but I do think that we should move these discussion items into action items today if we're comfortable with moving them forward, so we can get things done a little faster on Monday. Because that way, to me, this is the time, that's what I thought this time was for, is to make sure and to get everything ready for Monday to move forward. And again, we wouldn't move forward until we're comfortable. If there's more information, then hey, we'd like more information on this, which will happen Monday, or maybe even the next Friday, something like that. I mean, sometimes, again, some things can be done slowly, but other things we do want to speed up, but we've had multiple discussions on, i.e. the pool and so on and so forth. Those type of things we need to be, I think, can move forward with. But I don't know, that's just my thoughts. Because right now, I couldn't do, it'd be really hard for me to do option 3.
That's fair. And, if you take away option 3, this is new option 3 it's written. When we did this, it was just to show the Highlands Ranch model.
Okay, gotcha.
So that would still, to your point, keep Fridays, Mondays. And I think we're only talking about Fridays, Mondays, out of the conversation, I think, about we used to do it Tuesdays. Yep. So I guess, here's what I'm hearing. I think.
So you're using this
Can you see
model and discussion
Draining from my face.
as option 3, but you're using Fridays and Mondays.
Yes, exactly.
Okay?
Perfect, Director Roberts.
So you're only having one meeting in option 3.
In option 3, there are 2 meetings, but there's 1 action meeting.
Right, a work session and the.
Yep,
the
work session
action
discussion
meeting.
Friday.
Right, but I
action.
mean, we're only having one work session, one public meeting,
Yep, well,
work session on Friday.
yes, but they're both public meetings.
Yeah, they're both public
Yeah.
by Zoom, but only,
No, you can have,
in particular,
Joe's here. You can have public
in
here.
particular, we're basically only having one work session, one meeting the whole month.
You're having 1 work
With option
session
3.
meeting and 1 action meeting. So 1 action meeting per month in option 3, but there are 2 total meetings.
Correct.
So
So we're leaving the
I-
discussion back open to special meetings.
that is, if we trialed that and we found ourselves in situations where there must be special meetings to get business done, that's the concern of number 3, is that it leaves too much time before an action can be taking place. I think trialing that, because we're My opinion is that it won't happen frequently. We already have situations where, yes, there has been something immediately moved to action. The Civic Center Dog Park, for instance, was one that has been on action before, or for action initially. That's because as it was identified, this is the meeting came up, we're just trying to accelerate the process. It wasn't something that was, hey, it came up in the middle of like 2 days before a meeting, we need to get it to action because we have 3 days to get it complete. That's not why it generated that part of it.
So when you
Those
say
have been few and far
accelerator, are we
between.
fast tracking at that point?
In this case, in this model, I think it's, what is happening is that you're seeing us focus on ensuring that, yes, all duties and responsibilities happen here, but the preparation and knowing this is the time where we have to take action and we need the board to take action, we're making sure that we're ready for those, because otherwise we run the risk of that. So the risk kind of comes on us to make sure that those things are prepared, and that's why I'm thinking that there'll be a lot less concerns about special meetings happening during these times.
So like at the golf course meeting, I mentioned fast tracking this and what
Mhm.
we could do. And I mean, I know we're having a special meeting next month,
Yeah.
but I could see that happening more often, but it would be on one singular topic.
Yeah. So I think if this works as intended and is perfected, this is getting very clear direction, discussion, understanding topics before we get to the action, acting on it, seeing that to fruition until the next cycle of the actual meetings. And if it works well, then it will create the situation that there are less meetings, but they're more informed and discussed meetings, and more actions are taking place in between those so that you're seeing progress on it rather than the challenges in between.
So in this one, we would get the packet bare minimum, at the latest rather, on the 2nd.
Yes.
I mean, I guess at this point, after we've, circled the wagons how many times, I'd be fine with trialing that. The most important thing to me is to get the packet as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that.
What's the packet date on that?
On this, we
Second.
talked about
Friday?
the Friday before or the Monday before,
So it'll
so,
be the 30th or 31st of that, as that calendar does not depict?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Fake calendar, sorry.
Or the 29th or 28th of February?
We'll go with that.
I mean, I'm sort of defaulting to you guys. I've been here 3 months, whatever it is. I trust you guys that you've, been here, done that, et cetera. I'm fine with doing that as a trial. Trial means that you can change it.
Yeah.
I think we should try them all before we make an ultimate decision.
We actually, to be fair to that, the first model of it, we did try to trial 3 different options, but we just picked one and did it for 3 months instead. I think the 3-month period did work.
Then we'll
'cause
leave it up to public discussion and help us make a decision.
I think the first comment is like, when are you all meeting?
Can we move this to discussion Monday night?
What I will do after this is update, so that way we're seeing these options, so you'll see a little bit different in the packet for it.
So, just, where are we headed? Where are we?
We're gonna use September's calendar
I'm
as
a-
a model.
What are we leaning towards?
Mondays.
One meeting a month?
I'm going to ask the board to consider doing this model as a trial for 3 months.
One meeting for 3 months.
For 3 months, to trial it out, to go through different cycles of different months and ensure everything's going. And then all I'm gonna ask, yeah, maybe. And then the only thing I'll ask for that is, do we wanna start that before the end of the year or the beginning of the year? That will be the only question I'll probably ask the board's feedback for before deciding, will we wanna take that trial and figure out, does it work or not?
I think last time we had this discussion, we were looking at doing it after school started. I don't remember.
Yeah,
or
so
after-
That's
that
we
was
waited
the-
till after the summer.
So
Yeah.
I'm fine with starting.
And
it.
I thought the survey was gonna go out after school started because more people would be home and participating.
I think we did it during the first couple weeks of September.
Okay.
So when would you implement this?
Well, it sounds like, based on everything I'm hearing,
We
the
gotta
loudest
have
sources.
3 eyes
I'll
on
ask
Monday.
for,
When would the October meeting be?
when is October? Because it's not changing anything from the schedule. It's still the same meetings. We can,
still the
because
same.
we can adjust it. We don't have to do the first Friday, for instance. We could do the,
But
This one.
but it's gonna be a meeting on Monday.
yep,
Okay,
just like there is.
but only one a month.
Correct.
I wanna know when that meeting is, because
Gotcha.
I'm gone.
So, because,
I'll miss it.
gotcha. Because this is working out for just one meeting a month, we can do this for the next 3 months, October, November, December. Reason I would have, if it was multiple meetings and challenges, is we know the holidays come into play. the second meeting in November, December often either not scheduled or canceled because if there's nothing for it. But if the board is open to it, we can adjust it for October, November, December being this trial period before the next 5 trial periods, and then determine is it working or not. Are there any concerns with me preparing or proposing that for Monday, so we can get to our next discussion item?
Well, Brian hasn't had a chance to look at it, so.
That's fair.
I guess the biggest problem is if a board member misses a meeting, it's like they're out
For a month.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm game for trying.
I don't want to put any words in Vice President Axworthy's head or mouth. I do know he was the one who asked about the survey, and I think he was at least open to this concept at the time of the last discussion. But I would obviously defer if he has changed his mind or if I misunderstood. I'm going to put Vanna White's thing down.
We're not talking about changing the agenda from discussion this Monday, right?
No, there's no change to this one.
So you could present that again to Brian
Yes. He may also
on Monday.
And it can be moved to action on Monday.
And we could, there you go. That's exactly where I was going with that.
I hesitate to ask any other questions or discussion on that.
I don't
Not in regards to that subject.
I don't know what,
I got my other questions here.
He needs to watch the video.
I'll
One
get
more
this
session
for
on a
Monday
Friday.
on it.
One meeting on a Monday.
We have one last item on the discussion, strategic discussion related to the outdoor pool. As far as the information provided, all of it will be part of the public packet that's also in your packet. And Carol's obviously here to discuss more, but I think generally, just strategically, knowing the indoor pool, knowing the conversation around it, knowing the information to date, which I know I'm putting you on the spot, off the top of your head is 570,000 estimate for the outdoor pool. I'll double check.
Oh, what was the total?
That's pretty close with unknowns.
With unknowns, there's a concern that the outdoor pools, just initial estimate, and it's only one, came in somewhere in the $500,000, $600,000 range for being able to address the central issue of any of the lines that are broken under, which includes digging in the concrete, I think replacing the liner, and then any code requirements that after it has been corrected that might need to come up lines for the older pool. The question in the strategic discussion for the board isn't just, hey, do we fix this pool or not? It's going to be a question of, once the indoor pool is in effect, should there still be an outdoor pool? Should it be transitioned to a new community amenity like a splash pad? Should it be demolished? What is the board's preference and what would they like to discuss as far as options?
Okay, this is the first time seeing this, okay.
Sorry, well, did you have a question?
Essentially, it's an opportunity for the board to discuss their vision for the outdoor pool. Is this something they see repairing? And it's better to phrase it as a question of long-term, because the immediate question of do you repair it or not comes into conflict with, do you want an outdoor pool operating at the same time an indoor pool is operating? And some of the information in the packet includes the estimate, obviously, for the costs for repairing the outdoor pool, some of the estimates of costs for operating the outdoor pool based on historic data. I think it's about $50,000 per year for the loss. So by itself, not significant, but I think a bigger challenge is now you've created 2 demands for lifeguards or 2 demands for staff to make sure that they be able to do both. And we have historically had trouble even getting one pool staffed.
Yeah.
We haven't tried staffing an indoor pool yet, though, have we?
We have not.
So we don't know the logistics on that.
No, and there could be questions of, hey, it's an indoor pool that might have a larger
That'd be like more
crowd.
full-time positions, which people be more
Correct. Could be.
encouraged to
That's a
act
possibility.
upon.
Maybe.
The swim pool being outdoors, it may attract those who don't want to use the indoor pool during the summer, the spring, the warmer spring, summer, and fall months. Okay? Just for the mere fact that you get your vitamin D from exposure to outside or either drinking milk or taking supplements. But a lot of people enjoy the outdoors and the sunlight versus man-made natural lighting in an indoor setting. I think that's something that, and what's the highest quote you came up with for repairing it?
I believe that's in the packet, I think it's
Right,
560,000.
I wasn't able to open this until this
However,
morning.
there's a lot of unknowns. There are unknowns until they start digging.
Uh-huh.
So
Give me
that
one.
was the estimate that was given to us.
Give me 1 second. They did a narrative, which is part of it'll be part of the Monday packet too.
Yes. I didn't bring my stuff with me. I left it on my desk.
How dare you, Carol.
Sorry about that.
I'll do a quick write-up because it does it by line item. I don't think it does the total. If there is conversation that can happen while I do that,
Oh,
that'd be great.
Well, maybe we can put a movable roof over the indoor pool so that they can have the sunshine. No, I'm just being
We gotta
facetious.
come up with a
Carl.
bigger bank.
I guess I mean, even on the indoor pool, that thing's gonna operate at a loss. So it's like, to me, why would we have two things that now operate at a loss? When I was there, I toured that with Carol and Rodney, and to me, the restroom looked like, I've never been to prison. God willing, I'll never be there, but it looked like a prison. It was in pretty bad shape. Overall, the concession stand, I think it was rough. I think that should just be shut down, at least temporarily, and if for some reason I'm completely wrong and there's a line of people that are wanting to use the indoor pool so much so that the demand exceeds its capacity, then we should open the outdoor pool. I find that extremely unlikely, but that's my stance. And then if I'm correct in that thinking, then I think that at some point we should look at making that outdoor pool, I think as Carol suggested, a
Splash pad?
Splash pad. To repurpose
That
it.
was the other thing I was
I think
gonna say,
leaving
yeah.
something vacant forever is a bad idea too, so I think that the splash pad would be good. That's my general thoughts.
And I do have the estimates. It is $589,354 with several identified cost unknowns associated with either total or specifics until they dig into it. That is about $325,000 estimated for the new liner. $150,000 for main drain line has leak, need to be replaced and installed correctly with balance tank. Because of the pipes have galvanized metal, this has been destroyed by chemicals over the years. Pump will need to be brought up to code to hit 24,190 gallons an hour. So it's estimated at 52,000. The main drain will need to be brought up to code with new drain cover. Cost is unknown until investigated further. Heater will need to be replaced and installed with a newer, more efficient one. It's estimated at 45,000. Filters recommend changing sand and gravel and filter. Commercial pools recommend every 3 years. So this one approximate as part of that will be a $10,354 estimate. And the chemical controller will need to be replaced with a new controller with new acid tank, approximate $7,000 for the total of the $589,354 based on understood costs at this time, not the potential total.
So if I recall from before, we talked about the splash pad conversion
Yes, sir.
of the old swim pool. How much did the one there at Civic Center Park run us?
The whole park was what, 1.3 million?
1.5.
1.5?
Yeah, and it started with one, and then the board added on the skate park and the splash pad after
Yes.
at 500,000.
The splash
That-
pad was 500,000?
No, they added the skate park and the splash
Oh, okay.
park onto the original contract. So between the two, it was 500,000. Between the skate park and the splash park. Honestly, I'd have to go back and look. I'm gonna say it was probably close to 200,000.
Would you think the splash park with picnic tables around it get more usage year-round versus a swim pool?
Well, you can't do it year-round.
Year-round.
Well, I mean,
It would have.
Freeze.
I
It'd
mean,
be cold.
it's accessible, I understand that, but I'm not talking about using the water portion of it. We could still incorporate it as a community park with picnic tables around it.
Yes, we could
You see what I'm saying?
incorporate that, yes.
Yeah, all right.
So I'm sorry, what was your question?
I mean, could that be a vision that it would serve a purpose even into spring and fall?
Whether
Because-
it's used as a splash
Yeah,
park or just
like,
a
you know,
regular
if-
park.
If you go down by the reservoir and you go down there, they got
It's-
picnic
well,
tables.
there's picnic
It's
tables and
accessible
stuff over there
and
now. There's a bench or a.
There are picnic
covered
tables
patio,
under there
there's
right
pic-
now.
yeah.
Yes, not on the grass,
You could-
but yes, underneath the pavilion area,
Oh.
underneath the covered area.
Right.
Do we share with that playground with the school? Is
That is our playground.
That's our playground.
And they, it's kind of in that intergovernmental agreement where they use it like we use their schools to do our programming.
Yeah.
The other problems with the outdoor pool, as I recall, on that tour was the startup and shutdown of it ends up causing more maintenance or causing problems. The startup and shutdown of the pool. Because you're turning off the pump. And you're-
Always turning off the pump, it only runs 3 months, then it
Right.
sits for the rest of the year. And then,
Yeah.
and you're right, turning it back on.
And then there's also the
9 months
times
later.
where being outdoors with the high winds, where you guys had to shut down the pool.
We do have to close down, yes. If you can't see the bottom of the pool, you can't be in the pool.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
So
That's a
that-
bad filter.
No.
That's not enough.
You can see the bottom of the pool in our pool.
That's not enough screening on the fence.
And that's even with screening on the fence, just to
But yeah,
provide windbreak.
I would be,
but-
you know, I'd be in favor of repurposing that location and adding more park benches and stuff like that. Yeah, because I could see more people using it and more often,
Okay,
yeah. Hopefully that'd be more cost effective too.
okay.
And how much did our commercial bathroom at Civic Center Park cost?
125,000.
And how many square feet was it?
I don't know how big that building is, but it was the pump room too for the splash park. Right,
At Civic Center?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope we could get that cost down through the procurement bidding process on restroom facilities and stuff there.
Do you think a splash pad would be better received than maybe a kiddie pool? Just a shallow
Talking about a
pool.
larger, shallow.
Like a no depth?
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't think we've ever looked at that, to be honest with you,
It's
Mr.
not a
Vickers.
bad idea considering the indoor pool is.
It would
not gonna
require
have that.
smaller pumps and less circulation.
It would, yes, it would,
It'd be less taxing, money-wise as far as electricity to run the pumps.
it would.
It's a good idea.
We'd have to look into that.
Filtration and everything and,
It's just an option.
Okay,
yeah.
And we can discuss more Monday, but that's actually perfect, because if there is any direction that you would like us to look into as far as options for that, we can take that direction.
Yeah.
So appreciate it. Okay, any other questions or discussion?
I have these two other things I wanted to discuss.
Gotcha.
It's not,
Turn it over to you one sec, because that does complete generally the agenda. Just a reminder that we do have the work session, executive session ahead of the meeting, and there are a couple items afterwards, which we won't go into detail here. But just to advise the board, are there any changes or any items that you'd like to see on the agenda that we did not make? I actually have one thing for, I think you, but I do want to open that up first.
Go ahead.
It was just, I know we talked about the COA, and they're doing a work session for that. This
Oh,
meeting just
right.
ended up packed, so I was gonna do it for the next one, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
No, whatever works out.
Okay.
No, that's it.
Okay. Turn it over for any open questions, discussion before we adjourn.
okay, and
Director Roberts, are those regarding me, or could I?
you might have some of the answers.
Oh,
I'm
great,
s-
I'll stay
yeah,
right here
I was
then.
glad that you kind of stuck around. I
Okay, perfect,
appreciate it.
not a problem.
So in regards to the aquatic center, at our last meeting, we set funding, and we also determined that the board as a collective wanted to see things move at a faster pace. And I'm just curious, where are we at on the soil samples?
So,
Because
yeah.
we already had the quote, we authorized that to go forward.
I think
Is there
they're-
is there a date set for those soil samples to be collected, overnighted, and get results back?
So I think we provided the timeline in the last discussion, and then as far as the board meeting, public session, and then this, I don't think there's any further update, but to clarify, they did move forward, I think last week, started the process for investigation, and it's anticipated to be complete mid-November.
Okay, but that was the same thing that you put out in your email
Yes,
previously,
Yes.
that November
yes.
was tentative, and we all agreed that we're not satisfied with the pace of the process. Am I correct, Bill?
Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty.
Okay, so I would have thought by now, we would have had a set date, okay, that they were gonna come out, collect the samples, and get them processed.
We do have a set date, I believe.
Okay.
Rather than November being in the report again. I understand your ultimate report is saying November, but we got 2.5 months in there.
Yeah, there's an updated specific date for it. I did not hear from the board that you were asking us to make it so essentially did it faster.
And that's where my
That's
next
not
thing
what
is
I
gonna
heard.
come to, after,
Because-
They're scheduled to bring their equipment out on October 3rd.
Oh, good.
okay?
We had an update
But as far as
from
the
them.
final report, has that
I
changed?
did not have anything about a final report. All I did was they sent us a schedule of when they would have their rig out there to, because they had to schedule them
Yeah, so
to actually come.
No, I
So
understand the lead time on the project, but. there's
October
other people in
3rd is
front
when
of
they're
us.
scheduled to be out to do both sites.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to hear.
And I might have not have sent that to Christian.
Okay, and then the other thing is in regards to our current and ongoing projects, okay? There's nothing on the agenda for updates, for project updates. So I'll just give you an example. Hi, I'm Sean Winters. I'm giving you a project update on the railroad tie project along Highway 50 here in Pueblo West. Currently, the north side along Highway 50 appears to be completed, and they have started out towards Swallows Road to South McCulloch on that railroad tie fence. And that's where we have progressed at this time. And snap a photo here and there and include it in the presentation. Okay, but I would like to see that on all our projects where we get these updates, the public gets an update, okay, and showing the progression of their tax dollars at work.
So we do updates on ClearGov, which is a public site, of any updates as they are occurring. Have you been able to access that?
Well, no, I mean, I shouldn't have to ask for updates in these meetings. They should just be forthcoming.
They're already forthcoming in the public portal where they're updated. I'm asking, have you been able to look at that?
I haven't looked at it as a recent.
Okay.
But it just came with the subject matter of special meetings. Okay, so in regards to projects that we want to fast track, and I don't know how you feel, Bill, because I haven't discussed this with anybody, having special meetings. I know when we had water tap issues, we had special meetings that seemed like every week for a while there, okay? And so in regards to the aquatic center, okay, and the swim pool, does anybody here on the board feel like we need to set up a special meeting prior to the 3rd of October and see where we're at as far as like traffic monitoring? Do we have that scheduled yet?
That won't happen until after we pick a site.
That is correct.
Okay,
They
so.
won't do, there's no, the
So
county
we
does that.
won't do, okay, so the county's not gonna do anything until we pick a site. So we need the soil samples.
Yes.
And there goes why I'm referring back to the term fast tracking. And government is routinely slow. Everybody complains about the wheels of the judicial process, but it's amazing. It can move quick for others and slow for everybody else. So I would like to see more consistency in our project management and our prioritizing our timelines, so we can have better accountability to the public of their tax dollars at work.
Can I ask the board just to share some thoughts on this for as far as the topic?
As far as topic?
Yeah, as far as this, as far as the conversation around how we are disseminating and sharing information and how we are, I think, anticipating the board receives or discusses that information and whether there's that level of accountability involved or if we're missing something during it. So I just want to open up what's happening right now, share exactly how I'm communicating to the board, how we are communicating to the public.
That's not it. No. I'll give you an example. I'm at church last Sunday. I had one person come up and wanted to give me all the credit because they see me drive around and stopping and checking things, right? For the paving that's going on in Pueblo West. And I told him, I says, you know what, there's 5 other board members, there's a district manager, the employees, they deserve the credit, okay? I'm here, I want to be your voice, but I can't take all the credit, okay? But then he asked me about other projects. Well, where are we at on the railroad tie thing? Well, it's the same guy that asked me about the railroad tie thing a couple months ago. And that's when I asked for an update then. And then like, oh yeah, we got that handled. They're starting next week. I'm sure Carol remembers that. I think she answered the question.
No, that
Or-
I actually.
or Sean did or something.
It was project management. that's
Yeah,
doing
so that's, all I want to do is that, the public, as they're driving, they're fixated on the traffic. Okay? They're coming and going, so they can provide the tax dollars to fund this government body. And when they have questions in the public, I would love to be able to give them answers, okay? But not everybody's online going to the public website where they can look at all that stuff, because they're just too busy. You know, I raised 5 kids. I had football practice, ballet, karate practice. I mean, there was literally 5 days a week. I had no time for myself. So there's other people out there experiencing the same thing. Okay, so I just know that if we can give as much information as possible, okay, the public perception is going to be a lot better as a whole, as the government, that's this board and the employees, okay, an impression that is favorable. I just want to improve our image.
Sure. Well, I just wanted to offer, as far as just the public's awareness, to understand how we are communicating both to the public and to the board, because I think it's come up a couple of times now. One is weekly I provide DM updates where I capture usually that week of anything that came up, just to make sure that the board and the senior leadership are aware of things going on. I think historically in these past couple of months, you've seen multiple updates about the outdoor pool or the indoor pool. The
Yeah,
aquatic
I've
center.
seen all those, yeah.
Seen those. That information is shared with the board, and obviously that's just an email communicated between myself, board members, senior leadership. That is generally how we communicate with the board from a weekly basis, not to include obviously public updates that happen at the meetings when we're discussing topics, which oftentimes in the past couple of months we have talked, let's say the outdoor pool, or the railroad tie fence or something. Those projects that are going on there in the public, whether railroad tie fence, whether it was the aquatic center, those are receiving updates in ClearGov, which is a public transparency site, has a specific project listed. Sometimes there are updates pretty frequently because a project is ongoing and you're seeing project managers involved. For instance, the outdoor pool, the things that are happening ahead of time, sometimes you don't see updates so frequently because there aren't updates. An idea of when for instance, if Carol got that information about October 3rd this week, and as she does very well, shares those information with me, you'll probably see that in that DM update there. You may see that if that was a listed project on the ClearGov website, although that one specifically is not a project because that has not been approved by the board to spend money on yet, as far as project. So there are opportunities where we're sending that information out to the public. We're doing it at the frequency, usually of when those updates are occurring. My question is, what is it that we're missing? What is it that we're not seeing as far as those updates, either from the board or the public with those two avenues? What could we be doing better?
Well, I mean,
because the
like
only
if you-
concern I would have would be that we're repeating efforts for the sake of we're not reading the information or seeing the information when we're providing it. That would be my concern.
No, I understand Carol just got the information about October the 3rd. With that information, did they have a turnaround date of when they'd have the results?
No, that's all I have, was when they scheduled their rig. When
Okay.
they were penciled to schedule the rig, and they were waiting to make sure that was.
So if you
accurate.
put that in your last update.
Yeah, exactly.
If you had the information, then I would come back and email you and Bill and everybody else and say, hey, can we find out what their turnaround date is on soil samples? I mean, is there something we can do to expedite this? Do we need to overnight them and overnight them back? Or, because I've done that with asbestos inspections on home inspections. I'll overnight it, I'll get the results 24 hours later. So it's all about just trying to do it and get it done in a manner that's not only efficient, but quicker.
Yeah, so I totally respect getting the information out to the public, ensuring that the board's aware of that information. I know, President Vickers, you asked, hey, I would like to see weekly updates for the progress for it, and we
Yeah.
can absolutely commit to that. And I think we can do it even on the public transparency side. The only concern is that sometimes there aren't updates week to week. So sometimes you may hear no situation report, NSDR,
change,
for instance.
yeah.
Exactly. Not a concern with stuff like that. But what I'm kind of hearing is that two different things. One is that we're not communicating, and that's why I'm concerned, because I want to make sure that if that is the concern, I can address it. But the other one was that, for instance, you had said that you felt the board is wanting to see this accelerated. I think everybody wants to see it as fast as possible, but I didn't hear specific direction to go and engage with the Senzo, hey, we'd like to see it by October 31st, because that might increase cost if they say, well, to do that, we would adjust the cost to be able to move our project aside, and we bid you at that. That's usually what comes.
So was the November date set by Senza?
I think that's what they bid towards,
Yes,
yes.
it was. It was
Okay.
in the quotes that we received from everyone. That was in the quotes.
So for instance, a
Okay,
company.
so that's a date that they said.
Yes.
We didn't set any dates. If
Okay.
we're going out and asking people to do something, we're waiting on them to get back to us, and we're waiting on them to finish what they need to do and then get those reports to us.
So do you feel that they're fairly prioritizing us
I
over
do.
anybody else?
I do. They've been in contact with us a couple times now,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
they're communicating very well.
And to that point, there's nothing wrong with.
I mean, we could do
whether-
everything in the
yeah.
email, like I just said, if that was in your update, October the 3rd, I'd come back with that question. You would find any information.
Fair.
We wouldn't even be having this discussion,
Fair.
right?
As far as having the information prior to it, you probably would have seen it today. But the idea of, like, for instance, if we said, hey, we want this project done and we want it done by this date, staff, can you put out the bid for this date or as soon as possible? We would put that information out as part of our request for quotes, request for bid, whatever it might be. And then at the end of the day, we would get what we get back. For instance, if three companies say, you asked for a 7-day turnaround for this and it takes 2 months, we can only do 2 months, then we may have to be acceptable of that or find it acceptable. At this time, I think what was happening is that we put out a bid, hey, we would like this done. People then bid based on their project load, priority load, anything that came with it, and said, this is when we can do it. And then we approved the one that was at the lowest cost.
So, I mean, I'm under the exception, if you know what I mean, my lips are sticking together.
Perception.
Perception, thank you, Bill. That site selection is based upon getting the soil samples back. So if we could follow up on that and say, hey, is there any means possible that we can speed this up by overnighting the samples? Okay, I think you got a pretty good leeway there. You got, what, $35,000 at your disposal, right? As a director of the district.
talking about authority?
You can- Yeah, your authority
My-
to initiate that.
My authority goes up to 60,000. A question
60, okay, good.
would come to, typically our procurement processes want us to find the most cost-effective solution for exactly what we're trying to achieve. I would need to understand, is it the board's impression that they want to achieve this as fast as possible versus within a specified time frame at a reasonable cost-effective? Is 2 months essentially not fast enough because of some reason or another to be able to make that determination?
So
I don't
this
have that right now.
20/20 hindsight is something we don't have. I don't have that crystal ball, okay? But the sooner we can receive that information, make a site selection, the sooner Senza can start on their directives as far as the plans we selected to move forward with. So they might
Sure.
come up with it earlier than November.
We can always ask them, hey, is this the
We're not
fastest?
asking them to push their timeline.
Yeah.
All we're doing is we're providing them the information earlier, so hopefully they'll be expeditious in their process and maybe provide it earlier.
So if,
Okay.
for instance, if the board said, yes, we'd like this as fast as possible, we can go to Senza and say, hey, is this the fastest you can do it? And if they say, absolutely, we can't do it any faster, there's probably no room for discussion on that. If they said, yes, we can, but we can do it this fast without any cost, easy. If they say, hey,
Right.
we can do this, but it's gonna make us lose this project or lose this, and so we're gonna say that we'll only do it for this cost, then we can assess for it. I would just like to understand, is that what the board's direction is?
Well, I thought that at the.
Time is our enemy.
At the last meeting, we were all pretty anxious about getting things moving. And the delay in the timeline for the soil sample. from a practical standpoint, I still don't understand why it is such a process for that.
For the soil sample.
But we're stuck with that. We're in that, we can certainly ask them to expedite whenever they can.
I have a 11:30 appointment, so I gotta
Okay.
go.
That's fair.
Thank you. So anyway, that's all. We were just, I thought it was pretty clear at the last meeting that we all were wanting to move forward as fast as we can. If we're stuck with the Cinza and their processes, then that's what that's what we have to deal with. If they can speed it up, that would be a great tool. Because I did send Christian an email. I think I forwarded it to everybody, or blank copied everybody. I would personally like to see us speed up the timelines, stay on as Cinza to get the drawings going, and if they need to talk to anybody about what the scope of work is to be, I just want to keep the ball moving. We get bogged down in, we got a month or two for this and a month or two for that, and pretty soon we're down another year before and I'd like to see us break ground as soon as possible. I think I said 6 months. That may not be possible, but it'd be nice if we could get this thing going.
Yeah.
And I think the board is just that. We're just wanting to move and not necessarily cut corners.
We're not wanting to overlook anything. We're not trying to cut anywhere on code or construction, being safe and responsive to the taxpayers and stuff. We just want to fulfill the desire of getting this aquatic center moving. The timeline of November, which I didn't know was set by Cinza until now, there's those other aspects of it that can be done in the present, which possibly they may be able to give us what we want without any extra cost earlier. I don't know who's in front of us, but I definitely know about lead time, and the squeaky wheel is the one that gets the grease. And if we don't bring it up and go over it more than just once, I'm pretty sure it's my perception and it's Bill's perception that we want to move forward as fast as we can. We want to fast track this, but we want to do it efficiently.
Yeah, so here's where my probably simplest question would be then. I think everybody wants to see this done efficiently and fast, without sacrificing anything. The question is, do you want to do it at additional cost? Because usually speed comes with increased cost. If you want somebody to move you ahead, for instance, in a project cycle, they may come back with, to do that requires this cost associated with it.
But we're talking about the cost of getting the soil samples done at the earliest. If they said, oh, we got a 6-day turnaround, 6 business days or whatever, I'm fine with that. But if they say it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks, there's something wrong.
I think we have the potential to be able to
Your
challenge
general
as
contractors
far
who
as-
build these homes out here get their soil sample results a lot quicker than 3 weeks. Yeah, there's something missing here. And so if we can get the soil samples, we can make a site selection, then we can move forward with traffic monitoring. And then as soon as once they got the information they need, they can move forward at their own pace. Or if we pay them, or we, well, I mean, beyond what they're, like I said, they may bring it in at no extra cost early. We don't know that yet.
Yeah,
But we're looking at those options, though.
Is the board, and I'm not asking for a decision right now, maybe for consideration as far as discuss, is the board asking us to move faster even if it results in more cost? That's the question.
Well, I think that would be on a case-to-case basis.
So this would be one of those cases where I would bring it back.
If it's $10,000 or if it's $800, yeah, I think we'd move forward faster.
Because right now, within the authority and everything, we make those determinations. But most of our procurement process, most of what, I would say, means being a good steward, is knowing as far as taxpayer dollars go, I know that this project is anticipated or expected to complete within this is our general strategic vision or timeline, this is what we're looking at. And I would not accelerate something just to get it done faster within that timeline if it's otherwise still going to be done in the normal timeline that's set. I've not actually heard the board say, hey, we need to get this done and completed within 12 months, 18 months, whatever it might be. And therefore, we're making day-to-day decisions to ensure we can do that, and understanding our delegated authority for costs associated with that, we'll take that risk and responsibility because it's been delegated to us. Right now, I don't have a target date for the aquatic center when it needs to be built. I know in the email, you said you sent your email to all the folks. Were you able to send my response, or do you mind?
No, we're gonna talk.
Okay. The idea behind it is that 6-month time frame puts it far ahead if we broke ground from 6A and that decision for it. Well, we have discussed, I think at length, 6A and Tabor and that indoor pool.
That's not true. At the meeting, the last meeting, this board said that they weren't thinking about 6A and they needed to move forward with the pool regardless of 6A.
I've not seen a formal decision that says this is the date and we're going to do these things. If we need to prep it for that, at the end of the day, we did at the end of that conversation say our intent was to bring at the beginning of next year a ballot for 2026 and for November for the fire sales tax, and that understanding the timeline of the aquatic center, here are our concerns, but there's been no formal decision from the board. They've not made a motion, they've not said anything. Yes, there has been discussion between it. We've also heard discussion about those who would probably oppose that, at the very least. So if we need to say, hey, we're looking at these things too separately, and we're doing away with that part of the strategic plan that identified why, use the analogy for now.
Can I break in for 1 second?
Sure.
Okay, we're talking about discussion at the last board meeting that centered around moving ahead with the aquatic center without concern whether 6A passes or what the status of 6A was at that time. This is what we talked
That's
about.
correct.
We don't have any action, official board action that says we're going to put 6A ahead of anything either. We have discussions that surrounded that.
You have a strategic plan that states that, or at least demonstrates that, in both its priority and specifically what was in that strategic plan about it, and that was board approved.
So do we need to add that
So
to?
then we'll make a motion to change that.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
would still like to make the analogy, and more for the public and the board, is there's a conversation around the two things are not tied together, and that's true. 6A and the Tabor are not tied together. The pool and the fire station are not. They are tied to the district. They're both tied to the district. It would be almost like the idea of if you go out for a car loan when you have a house payment, they want to know your bank account. They want to know how much credit you have. They want to know your debt to income ratio. They want to know those things before they would loan you money to purchase something else, because you run the risk of not being able to pay your debts. 6A is a potential debt for the district. It's a potential risk for the district. If a capital project comes on that then otherwise increases the debt for the district, now you have two debts. So that's the question and just recommendation and why we have had it that way. That's why the last board discussed in that aspect why they're ranked in that way. So I would just ask the board to be considering that before they make a decision. That would change.
Well, I'm pretty sure that with the statements I made in the last board meeting, that you could go ahead and push 6A forward, but not in association of the aquatic center. If it fails, they got 2028 and 2030 to reapproach it again.
And they have those
so
same dates they could
no
fail.
one's tying the hands of anybody moving forward on 6A, but I'm definitely not acceptable to the fact that 6A is going to tie the hands on the aquatic center.
Well, you actually had a motion passed that said that you were going to spend up to $6.2 million on the aquatic center at the last meeting. Right?
Nothing but timing as far as that.
So do we need to set time and dates?
I would probably ask that the board make an active decision to say that they are willing to put the aquatic center forward currently, knowing that the other things within the strategic plan are outstanding, and that there could be the concern of what that risk could look like, because you're right, 2028, 2030, those years do exist.
But truly, nothing's
without some of
outstanding
these
until
board members,
2030 if it fails again.
which then a new board and a new public and a new community would have to deal with the
Right.
repercussions of.
Which is what we took on that burden as new board members. What was left from before, we're having to deal with now. It's going to be no different in the future.
I think this board was left with a strategic plan that identified a lot of those things to help them and guide them.
That was before I was under the impression and understood that the situation, the dynamics of what we got, the previous situations that occurred, we weren't too purview of until we got into this seat.
Sure.
And so when you understand that 6A has nothing to do with the pool. These are two separate situations, and it's very nice and it's very good that we're thinking about these things in conjunction of, how are we going to make these things happen? But when it comes to the end of the day, one has nothing to do with the other, and I understand your analogy that you put forth. But again, it comes down to, this was a public voted situation that we are now trying to mitigate, or trying to make happen, that the public voted on. Everybody's like, barely, it doesn't matter, it was barely, it was one vote, it doesn't matter, it got voted to happen. So the 6A, that's why I said we get this stuff moving forward with 6A and see where the people stand. Now, I'm sure if we put it out there and they elected, then we're good to go. If not, we have another opportunity to do so. But at the same time, the public needs to be aware that these are the things that need to be thought about and for future purposes before they just do a ballot measure and say, hey, for the sake of our comfort, we'd like to have another pool or something like that, that they think about this stuff, because right now we're in this predicament. And
Do we want to put this on the agenda as an action item? To separate the aquatic center and the 6A ballot issue of 2026?
Issue, though.
I don't think you need to actively separate the two. They aren't tied together in the sense of those two have any linkage other than.
They're
the
tied
strategic
together
plan
in
for each other.
conversation.
They're
but so-
tied to the general fund and the strategic plan of the district to make sure that 2030, you're not
Right.
closing down an aquatic center or a fire station.
Good plan.
Yeah.
Very understandable, but at the same time, when it comes down to the dynamics of it, one has nothing to do with the other at the moment.
Correct, but there's also nothing in the ballot language saying you have to build the pool, or you have to build it by a
Which
certain
ballot
date.
language?
The 5D, the Tabor one. It just says you can collect money for the purpose of that. Now, whether you build that in 2026, 2027, 2030, whatever it might be, there's nothing telling you you have to build it by a certain time. The
Well,
reason
the
it's,
public, a lot of people are saying no, but a lot of people are saying yes. We get a.
the language, as far as what it says, that's all I'm describing.
Right,
What people
and
want.
I've said the same thing. I mean, we can go lease a pool for however much money if we really wanted to. I mean, we don't even need to discuss building an aquatic center if you want to get to that point. We can go down and pay the YMCA.
The YMCA would love that, though.
I know, but I'm just saying, it says lease a pool or whatever, but depending on what, I mean, there's a lot of discussion that, I mean, if you get down to it, what are we gonna do? Well, we've discussed moving forward with an aquatic center indoor so that we can have the facility year-round. So these are the options that have been put forward. Again, I haven't seen any other options for leasing or whatever the heck it says there, or using the money just to rebuild the pool we have now. I mean, there's all sorts of other ways to go about doing this if you want to get into the weeds. However, it still comes down to one has nothing to do with the other.
Exactly.
yeah.
And then the other caveat to this is that a lot of people were attracted to Pueblo West to buy not only property, but to call a place home because of the reservoir location and a golf course. Okay? So now you have a community that's donating their excess Tabor funds for an aquatic center, swim pool, maintenance, or a new build, however you want to look at it. But the caveat to it is, we don't have a swim pool. We're looking at a splash pad plus maybe a shallow kiddie pool, right? For younger crowds that have children or grandparents that want to bring their grandkids, okay? So with an aquatic center available 7 days a week, it'd be just like the golf course. It's an attractive piece to the community, which is going to draw more people in, which is going to give all the establishments in the area more business, which is more tax money on sales tax. So, I mean, to me, the aquatic center is not only a must, it's an economical advantage to improving and bringing in extra revenue with all the local businesses. And any future or potential businesses coming into our area.
I don't disagree with a lot of those points for, as far as the discussion goes, but that's the central question and concern that we've been raising, is that, if you don't mind me using it as the question I asked you just publicly, there's been a sudden urgency with the timeline for the project, being the indoor pool, which had otherwise been at its farthest point and ready to move forward for the first time since its inception. Not to mention, there's still 2025 and 2026 for the Tabor timeout. It feels as the district, we made progress to this point, resolving roadblocks and developing a plan that was fiscally responsible per the 2018, 2019 fiscal sustainability study, and achieving these shared goals over the past few years, all the way back to 6A's first success. And I asked, in your opinion, what has caused a sudden urgency from the board? Because my question is, I understand there's a goal to get the project done as fast as possible while being fiscally responsible. Likely with the timeline to construction, I would imagine probably 6 months to construct. We're in a period of time to be able to say, hey, we're going to get this information before we make site selection, and that's going to put us somewhere to mid to late next year for it, at the earliest probably, as a fair thing. That's probably not going to be too much in time potentially for the outdoor pool, which is also going to be likely closed if it's not obviously fixed or something fixed during it. So next year doesn't seem like the time target. What is wrong with doing it in 2027 so that way you can do both?
Well, you're hoping that now the Tabor tax with no product put in front of the with no activity center, whether it be the existing swim pool or an aquatic center having a groundbreaking, to stand on its own and get passed again. So we get the additional funding. Okay, so you brought up 2027. Okay, if we don't have anything out there, we don't put the prize in front of the public, they're going to go, why are we going to do this? We just went 10 years without doing anything, and we don't have a swim pool.
So I'll give you a proposal, a plan that I think solves 90% of our problems as far as discussion, if I'm understanding everything correctly. I don't think anybody would recommend running 2 ballot initiatives at the same time. It runs the risk of one failing. Do we agree or understand where that recommendation comes from? If you have multiple things where you're asking the taxpayer, would you agree to this? It reduces the likelihood that they may want to, just on that.
But to put it on hold for a ballot issue?
Do you mind if I go through this real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate it. So likely 2026 November, if that is still a goal for 6A, would be when we would put that one forward and confirm and solidify, and hope, in theory, that 6A becomes permanent, the fire sales tax is resolved, we don't have that concern. Then construction in 2027 with the aquatic center, or the indoor pool in this case, would happen, and we could see the progress, the fruits of the labor, seeing that happen, and then have that as the vision, and we would have the completion of the 5B Tabor at the end of 2026. We'd start knowing those costs associated. We could better align costs associated with the aquatic center, indoor pool for it. And then it could be the potential for 2027 for a ballot initiative, or worst case scenario, 2028. It would follow through with that. We're not running a risk of not being able to maintain the indoor pool within the general fund right now. The Tabor idea, to be able to debruce and keep that permanent, is a really good idea. It will help fund it so that way that exists. It's no increased cost to the taxpayer. It's good, not knocking it. The idea of it existing at the same time as the concern of 6A, which does come with a large deficit, is where I draw the concern of. Because at the end of the day, we are the fiscal stewards for the district. The voters did approve funding to be used for aquatic center or community pool, or aquatic center and community pool, with the maintenance, the lease, the construction, as far as that. We have to be good fiscal stewards to understand the budget and the ramifications of any decisions we make. And the one that we're saying is a concern is trying to do the capital project of the aquatic center and then have the operational risk of its long-term, while the operational risk of the fire department is in the horizon. Yes, we have until 2030 to be able to resolve it, but if we're wrong, that comes with a lot of repercussions. And the worst case scenario I think we are worried about is that an aquatic center or fire station becomes closed down after it had been constructed. It's not saying it would happen, but it's the concern that comes from it. It's not to say we don't want the indoor pool to happen. I think a lot of us felt we have made a lot of progress to get to this point. And with the alternative design, reducing costs, that's going to be valuable for as far as the taxpayer dollars. But it's not, we're not seeing it as that rush to have it happen ahead of the 6A at this time. I'm trying to understand why.
Okay, my first question is, who is "we're"?
We're as in
We're
we-
as a collective, we're not seeing, I mean, using your
Staff.
words.
I'll go with
Who's
staff.
"we're"?
The
Is
staff.
it you? Is it, who's helping come up with?
The previous board and the staff. We did the strategic plan last year as part of the board retreat into what created it and envisioned, you're right, they're not tied together, but resources are. Our resources to fund projects and fund the operation of the district absolutely tie to everything that we do within the district for our service plan or our projects or anything that comes with it. So they are tied to us, and we are responsible for the fiscal stewardship of the district for it. That's where the concern comes from. So when I say we're not seeing it, I'm going with the past board, which unanimously approved that strategic plan with it, and the staff that helped shape some of those concerns and the desired end states we were looking at.
So Bill, maybe we should have a special meeting just about the strategic plan. And-
You gotta understand, what's the definition of a plan? A plan is not an immovable project or an immovable document that can't be changed or altered.
Sure. Usually something hits that plan. I'm asking what hit the plan to make this move? Why are we moving it?
Because we have an opportunity to do it, and we have the money to do it, and the voters will decide whether or not that they feel continued fire protection is important. I personally don't think that they're gonna reject an extension of the sales tax.
Neither do I.
But that's the voters' prerogative. Governments make decisions, we make decisions on, all government across the board, everywhere makes decisions on money issues and faces the consequences of that decision if something else goes wrong. I don't think you should have to stall government because you think that something may go wrong in the future or that they are not gonna pass the fire sales tax. I just really don't think that those two things compete with one another. And if they don't pass the fire tax and you haven't built an aquatic center, you got 3 years of reserve funds to pay for the fire department, and then you're in the same boat. You don't have money. They haven't passed the fire sales tax, but now, at this point.
But we've constructed an aquatic center.
But at this point, we're desperately out of money. The public has no option but to pass the sales tax or face closure of fire facilities.
Or reduce,
That's
or
a
reduce
reality
services
no matter
of the
what,
fire.
whether we build the pool or not.
So the next board would have to decide, because that scenario is the worst case scenario, which, I get it, things hit plans do change. I'm asking what hit this plan to change it this way, because
I just said that,
we
because
have
we
the
have
money to
money.
do it.
And
Does
we-
not mean that we can't do it in
And we
2027.
can do it for less money than we can do in 2027.
What's making it happen in 2026? We're altering the plan to have it happen earlier.
I think we need to make it
It
an
may-
action item.
It may be worth the discussion for it, but what I do want to just iterate is that the worst-case scenario that plays out is the aquatic center gets built, there's an operational cost to it, you have a facility with an operational cost, and now you have a loss of income for the fire department that transfers to the general fund. The next board, not this board, the next board will have to decide, what are they going to cut? There's only so much administrative that you
Right.
can cut. It's going to come down to fire or parks, and you're going to have an aquatic center that's running under.
Well, you don't know that.
You don't know that.
Like-
You know why?
It's
Because you just
estimated.
operated, you just mentioned
No-
operating risk.
no indoor pool in
And
Colorado.
Do we have a thorough cost analysis of what it would cost to run an aquatic center with full-time employees 7 days a week?
We provided multiple cost estimates for it. Now, do we know for a fact what it
Okay.
will run at? No. But there is no indoor pool within the state that we have found that runs at a net positive. None.
None.
So what are we talking about then, when it comes to that scenario that plays out where you have to make a decision as a board? Again, maybe not this board, where they may have to choose between staffing a fire station and staffing an aquatic center.
Again, that boils down to the taxpayer.
That have elected, you all, to make responsible decisions now to help protect us from that. That's the responsibility I want to remind us of.
Correct. 6A, 2026, 2028, 2030.
There's
The
40
fire
years.
stations are already funded for the next 4 years. This is the project on the table. This is the one that we want to push.
Okay, I totally respect it. I think it should be an action item to be able to do that, so that way the board can make it public what they're asking for and how to instruct it.
You know, and from the day that I got elected this time around, I've asked the fire department, I asked finance, can we be setting money aside for the fire department in case 1A doesn't get re-upped? Have we at all put any money aside for operating deficits in case 1A? No, we're spending every dollar that we can. We're hiring all the employees that we can. In my opinion, that's poor management. We're not looking ahead to.
So the board approved the budget, so I don't think that's a knock on us in that aspect
Well,
of it.
the previous boards did.
The idea of when we have budgets and when we do those things, we can identify fund balance. We did it in the 2025 budget, showed that, we recommended it. It's been part of the contingency plan for the strategic plan. If 6A were to fail, what to do in those aspects. I mentioned that at the last board meeting. So I'm not specifying that there's any poor management going on right now. I'm asking the board to understand the responsibility with this decision. That's all.
I think we do.
Okay. But I do agree, I think it would be good for an action item, and I don't mind putting on for Monday.
Are you okay with that?
What kind of action item?
To
move
give,
this
make
forward?
the aquatic center a priority.
Yeah, sure.
And not attached to 6A. I don't want to hear the aquatic center, 6A brought up again, but it's, you know, freedom of speech. So we'll deal with it as it comes. But at the same time, previous boards have made decisions that this community hasn't appreciated. And, you know, that's our responsibilities to the taxpayers. They voted us in. They want an aquatic center, especially with a swimming pool that's not in operation. And to not break ground prior to 2027 would be cutting the legs out from underneath us. Be like saying, no, we're not going to push a ballot initiative for 6A until 2030. And that's this board's decision. And so we're cutting the legs out from the fire department ahead of the game. We're not saying that. Both can coexist because they still got other years into the future before the ballot initiative sunsets. And then and only then do they have to start worrying about funding. But in the present, if I want to go shopping at Walmart, that's my decision. If I want to go to Safeway, that's my decision. Okay, so whatever the board makes a decision on as an action item, we need to move forward in an expeditious manner, an efficient manner. We don't want to miss anything. Okay, and let's get the taxpayers what they voted for.
Absolutely, agree. It's the board's decision on how they'd like to move forward. I think I've said what I think is everything encompassing why the recommendation has been this far, and so the board takes that risk. Okay,
I don't think that we don't, I'm on the grounds of, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but again, I can't incumbent, if you want to bring up 6A anytime you want, I don't care. That's to me, one has nothing to do with the other. One is the fact that the funding is going to be pretty much set with what we have, and I agree. I'm okay with, you know, making this, doing it properly, and but as far as timeline goes, and we have the necessary things to move forward with this project that the public. I got plenty of emails talking about the pool. I got plenty of people talking about the pool, even in ways that are completely off base, but but they're still for the pool, saying things that are just like, but and again, I wasn't for this pool when I first started until I came to light of new information that I wasn't purview of until I sat in this seat. Again, I still have my reservations on the pool, but again, it makes a difference when you understand certain dynamics. So that's why my thought process has changed, and I again apologize to my voters for this situation, but there were things I didn't know of before. Specifically the fact that we have a pool that is no longer operational. So now we've got to do something to mitigate those things, and there's a lot of people that were upset about that situation. Even if they didn't use the pool, they were upset. I didn't use the pool, but I was upset about it. We still have money that's being taxed for that pool, so to speak. So I go with the fact that I would like to get the pool started, and I go back to the situation. It's up to us to make ballot initiatives happen. If the board is okay with pushing forward a ballot initiative, yes, it's costly, could be costly, but at the end of the day, it's our decision to make that happen. So that's why I was saying, trying to figure out how to make the table. But if there's no pool visible saying that we're doing something, why are they saying, well, you've already wasted? We haven't wasted the money because none of the money's been spent. Nobody understood it was gonna take 9 years to get over $3 million for this situation to happen. If they did, and they still voted for it, then that's on the voter. We're doing what is necessary within our means to make the voter happy in the situation that we've been given. And that's what I look at it as. And again, I don't disagree with what you're trying to accomplish. But at the same time, I look at it, they're two different issues to me. And this is something that the voter voted for. And if the voter wants to vote to ensure that things happen properly, then they need to vote for 1A, 1A? A? 6A. Why do I keep saying 1A? 6A. Then they need to vote for 6A. You know, that's the dynamics that we're in. And if they don't vote for 6A, then the public has put themselves in the situation that they put them in. And we're just operating within the dynamics that we've been handed.
I think fairly put. Yeah, my job is to take the board's direction and instruction for this. It's also to make sure the board and the public are informed
Oh,
as
no,
far as all the things that
absolutely,
come through.
as our
Actually,
advisor.
yeah.
No, I appreciate that, and I really do. I don't disagree with you on it, but at the same time, I disagree with how we're looking at the dynamics.
I got you. I guess to sum it up, I think the board can, on a fun note, have its cake and eat its too. The aquatic center can be complete, 6A can happen prior to it, and all these things can be accomplished for it without running the risk of it. And that's what we would just ask the board to consider, and that's why it was in the strategic plan as it was. But at the end of the day, I'll put it on as far as an action item for Monday to be able to provide guidance that we are providing. We want the aquatic center to move forward without any concerns of delay when it comes to any other strategic plan or any other challenges within the district. This is a project we want to see move forward and allow the board to be able to make a decision on that.
Bill, can we put the strategic plan on the next work session?
Sure, no problem for it. We did discuss at the last, maybe not the last work session, I think it was the one before that as well.
Yeah, the only other quick comment I'll make is that I think the board's responsibility is also, you know, in doing things the best and most cost-effective way, not cutting corners, but also in staffing, you know, really prioritizing the staff. I think the budget for the other aquatic center had 3 new full-time, you know, almost director positions that paid $60,000 to $80,000 a person. So, you know, there's a lot of cost.
Correct.
So we might have to look at that and say, we're going to do something different. That's the board's prerogative and direction, is to be cognitive of expenses and try to come up with new ideas to mitigate those expenses. Who knows, maybe we would need to hire an outside firm to manage it or run the pumps, or, you know, a lot of things that we can look at. I'm just throwing stuff out there, but that's the board's, part of the board's job too, is to try to come up with good ways to achieve the goals that they've set before them. So, in conjunction with staff, of course. I went to a really good breakout session at that SDA conference that talked about teamwork and building a team, a cohesive team between board members and employees. And, you know, I really would like that to be something that we're known for. I think we do a good job, but I think we can even do better. I think we need to work together a little better than we can, or than we do. I'm really optimistic about that. So I think we can do this, guys. I really do. I think we can make this happen for the community and make 6A happen, or C or D or F, whatever. I think we can do this if we put our heads together and we really try to come up with a good solution.
So what's the possibility of capturing some extra tax dollars off of the property tax? Because I know I don't live in the golf course area anymore, so the property value compared to when I lived on Circle Drive, based upon the square footage, is different.
No,
and I'm just curious, is that going to, since it's an improvement to the community, if
they don't assess that property.
would that be like a new assessment or something?
And golf course properties are assessed, I've had this discussion with the assessor time and time again. They're assessed as everybody else's properties are, or they're assessed on sale price, not because they're built on the golf course. It just happens to be that people will pay more money to live on a golf course, so they pay more for their houses to live on a golf course. But
Oh, is that how it works, Bill?
it's not, they don't pay more money because they are on a golf course.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Carol,
Yes, sir.
I was wanting to ask you this since this started. On the November timeframe, was that just, was that to actually drill, or were we ahead of schedule because they said we can drill we'll have everything ready to go on October 3rd? Or does that just put them out, say, hey, we can do this, but it's going to be sometime between now and November? But now, since they're going in to drill on October 3rd, could that put us in October timeframe of being able to get our soil samples? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure that I could answer that question.
Okay, that's what I mean.
I'd have to reach out
Right.
to them.
But the November timeframe wasn't,
That was in the proposal when we asked all of the
so it
three
seems to me like
proposals.
we might actually be a little bit ahead of schedule by that, right? Maybe?
I'm not sure either.
Yeah,
I
okay.
am not sure on
Okay.
that.
We can
either.
ask.
I
Okay.
can ask.
Yeah, no, I appreciate
ask,
that,
and I'll
yeah.
have, maybe I can have it by Monday. I will try.
Yeah, because
Yeah, I'd like to see those turnaround times on the samples, so.
yeah. No, that's what I was asking, saying, okay, November is the time frame. So was that them saying we could do that in November? Or now that they've given us hey, October, and then a week or so later, they give us the samples? We don't, again.
And I don't have that
Yeah,
in
I
front
got
of
you.
me either.
No, that's all I needed to ask.
Okay.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Not a problem.
Any other discussion for? I don't know. All right, I apologize, we took a little bit longer.
She's sort of glazed over.
We'll close out for the day. I appreciate everybody's time, and everybody have a good rest of the
All
day.
right,
and good
thank
weekend.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.